All right, welcome everyone. Very festive mood today. We appreciate everyone taking the time to come out to this commission meeting. As we know, today is the day after the election, the first meeting after the election, where we swear in our new commissioners and bid farewell to the commissioners that have served us very well. And we also have a little bit of city business to do as well. For those of you who want to stick around from that, it's always very interesting. For this meeting, unlike other meetings, we're using a very special gavel tonight. This was presented to George A. Dondero, our first mayor of Royal Oak, back in 1921. And we bring this gavel out on special occasions, pretty much every 2 years. And because these meetings don't get too rowdy and we don't want to break a gavel, especially this one. So I feel pretty honored to use this tonight to open up the meeting, to swear in the 49th Commission and bid farewell to the 48th Royal Oak City Commission. So with that, I'm going to call to order the November 27th, 2017 Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We have a very special guest tonight to give the invocation, Reverend Beth Taylor. She's the rector at St. John's Episcopal Church here in Royal Oak, and she's going to start us off with an invocation. So please stand.
Gracious God, creator of all people, we give thanks for Royal Oak and for the men, women, and children from diverse cultures and differing talents who inhabit its neighborhoods. We give thanks for these elected and appointed public servants, for those completing their terms, and those who will take office on this day. We ask that you bless each of them with wisdom, courage, and humility, that they will remain worthy of the leadership roles entrusted to them, promote the common good, and make wise and just decisions for the well-being of all our citizens. May it be so. Amen.
Amen.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 4, we have a special award tonight, an Outstanding Customer Service Award. This isn't for our transit discussion later, don't worry.
Actually, we're replacing the motorcycles in the police department. Officer Kristen Robinson. Forward, please. I think most people are aware by now that we do a quarterly award for outstanding customer service to 2 employees each quarter. It's awarded by an employee committee that we call the Customer-Centric Culture Committee. The nominees are taken both from other employees and from the general public. This time around, because of scheduling problems, I couldn't present both award winners at the same time. 2 weeks ago, we presented an award to Officer Nate Hepner, and with Officer Robinson, we're making it a clean sweep for the police department this quarter. Officer Robinson, a member of the Royal Oak Police Department for 3 years? 3 years. Assisted an elderly woman who had locked herself out of her vehicle. After unlocking the vehicle for her, Officer Robinson observed the lady using a stick for a cane. Officer Robinson asked her about the stick, and the lady replied that someone either stole her cane or she accidentally lost it. The officer took it upon herself to purchase 2 canes and had them delivered to the elderly woman's home in Berkeley. Officer Robinson told no one about this, and the department only became aware when the 82-year-old woman called the station to express her gratitude. She was absolutely overwhelmed by the officer's kindness and generosity. Officer Robinson was very humble when asked about her good deed and stated that she wanted to pay it forward for a kind act that was recently done for her. Her concern for the emotional and physical well-being of all those we strive to protect is most definitely noteworthy. The customer-centric culture team was impressed by the thoughtfulness and sympathy displayed by Officer Robinson and the initiative she took in assisting the elderly woman's situation and responding. Thank you for your service. Part of the award. The scooter goes to the department of the employee that won the award. It actually comes from, because we started this after going through Disney training, and this is something that actually started at Pixar, where, believe it or not, they actually started using scooters as a means of transportation within the Pixar studios. We don't really expect anybody to try to ride these, but if they want to have races, you can.
Thank you.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm always amazed at the wonderful people we have working in this city, and especially in our police department. We should be very proud of those who serve us. And again, one more round of applause for Officer Robinson. Okay, this brings us to item number 5, public comment. I'll read from my script here today so I don't screw it up. The City Commission values and relies on the input of our fellow citizens to make decisions. Now is the time set aside for the public to address the City Commission on city-related issues, both on the agenda and not. I ask that your comments be directed to the City Commission as a whole and not to individual commissioners. Public comment is the only time tonight to address the City Commission, as there are no public hearings on the agenda scheduled for this evening. If you wish to speak tonight, please wait till you're recognized by me, the mayor. Come up to the podium. For the record, you'll need to state your name and address. Please be mindful that the City Commission wants to hear from everyone who wishes to speak, so comments are limited to 5 minutes or less, and we have a timer at the podium to help you keep track of your time. If you don't wish to speak tonight, that's all right. Don't hesitate to call, email any of the commissioners up here or the new commissioners that will be sworn in later with your concerns. That's another good way to get us your feedback. Please note that during public comment, the City Commission won't respond directly to questions during public comment. However, we are taking notes, and we'll address the questions when the agenda topic is discussed. Or if it's not on the agenda, we'll refer it to the proper city department, and the matter will get addressed. And I can tell you, our city manager over here, he's not playing Minecraft most of the time. He is taking copious notes, and he is following up on a number of the issues that pop up. Where we can be helpful. So with that, who's the first to speak tonight? Yes, sir. Green? Is that Mr. Regan I see back there? Yes, it is.
Good evening. My name's Tom Regan. I live at 3126 Glenview, and I'm here in my capacity as chair of the Royal Oak Environmental Advisory Board. But I wanted to invite everybody to a talk that is coming this Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Royal Oak Public Library. It'll be by Chris Skinner. He's a PhD and a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Michigan. He was here once before, earlier in the year, talking about global warming, and the topic of his talk will be global warming, does it cause hurricanes? And that's this Thursday, November 30th, 7 p.m. at the Royal Oak Library in the Friends Auditorium. He was very well attended, very well received last time. I'm sure this talk will also be very interesting. And I just have to mention Mr. Marley, Mr. Polton, and Ms. Donegan, thank you very much again for your service. It was just a pleasure to come to a city commission meeting and see you guys sitting there. But thanks.
Mr. Regan. See a hand in the back? Yes. Mr. Colo with your beard. Looks good, by the way.
Thank you. I'm trying to look more like Commissioner DeBuck, so. Mr. Mayors, members of the commission, I'm Brandon Colo, 600 East Hudson Avenue here in Royal Oak. I'm here tonight to thank a lot of people. First, I'd like to thank Commissioners Marley, Polton, and Donegan. You've served our city well and with honor, and thank you for all that you've done for us. Next, I want to thank the voters of Royal Oak. We had over 25% of our registered voters come out in this last election. And that's amazing, and I hope to see that number grow. They voted yes for our schools. We got that bond passed again, so we continue to have a great future for our children. And they also voted to seat this new commission. I would very much like to thank all those who supported me in my race. While I came up 39 votes short, I'm excited to continue to help the community from this side of the table. I'd like to congratulate all our new elected commissioners and officials. This was a hard campaign season, and it's both an honor and privilege to earn the trust of the public. It's a great responsibility, and I wish you all the best to bear it well. And Mr. Mayor, I know this is against the rules, so I'm glad to ask you for your forgiveness, but I'd like to address Commissioner Macy personally and thank her for running a campaign together. Commissioner Macy, I've learned from you. I've been honored to knock doors with you, and I can't wait to see what you do at this table. You are just a brilliant person. We all know that from reading your post, and I'm happy. So with that, I wish you all the best next 2 years and to see what we can accomplish together. There's a lot to do to build stronger neighborhoods, make sure we have more citizens with voices at this table, and to improve community assets. I look forward to helping you do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. Yes.
Hello, my name is Kathleen Grobel. I live at 4032 Amherst here in Royal Oak. I'm a longtime resident of Royal Oak, and I'm also the supervisor of Child Life Services at Beaumont Children's. I'm here today to talk to you about a really fun program that we're doing the month of December for the Children's Hospital. Our Pediatric Family Advisory Council is a group of dedicated volunteer parents who help us with initiatives to try and help make the hospital experience better for children and families. They have come up with this really fun idea for the month of December, and it was based in their idea that being in the hospital can be really difficult, can be lonely, and especially at the holiday season. So they wanted to connect our community with the families and children in our children's hospital. So we are inviting the community members to come to the hospital campus each night in December and stand outside and say goodnight to our kids by flashing flashlights at them. The program is called Moonbeams for Sweet Dreams. It'll happen every night in the month of December at 8 o'clock. The kids will be in their rooms and in some of the hallways looking down, and they will have flashlights and glow sticks and all kinds of fun things to flash back and say goodnight back. So we hope that our community comes out. Our sign-up genius filled up very quickly, and we still want people to come, even if they go to our link and it's still filled up. We still want people just to show up because we're really excited and we can accommodate a lot of people. So we're hoping it's a great event, and thank you for letting me share.
Ms. Grohl, nice idea.
Thank you.
I see a hand back here. Is that Ms. Hennessy?
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. Carol Hennessy, 258 East 12 Mile Road. I have not heard from anybody in regards to the piece of art on the veterans area outside. This is my fourth commission meeting, and I haven't heard back from anybody. So I don't know what my next step is to do. I know Mr. Wendland contacted and talked to the mayor and to Mr. Johnson, and he hasn't gotten an answer either. So I'm up here to find out what's going to happen about that. And again, I want to stress, it's not that we're against the art. We're just asking to put a piece of art relating to the veterans in the veterans area. And so I hope I can get some answers on that subject shortly. And also I'd like to thank Dave Polton and Jeremy and Marie Dunnigan for all their hard work. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hennessy. Who's next? Yes. Is that Jody Ellis? All right.
Good evening, Mayor Fournier, Commissioners. Jody Ellison, 1309 Mohawk. I am here tonight in my capacity as Vice Chair for the Royal Oak Commission for the Arts to remind everybody that this Wednesday, November 29th, from 6 to 9 in the Friends Auditorium at the Royal Oak Public Library, we will be having a work session on our public art installation, Sharing the Warmth. We are, it's a collaborative community installation just in time for the Royal Oak City tree lighting ceremony, where we are placing scarves, hats, gloves, mittens outside in public places for people who are cold to take them so that they can warm themselves up. There will be a return area at the library where they can drop them off, they can be laundered, they can swap them out for new ones or keep the one they have if they like it. We are accepting donations of materials, yarn, fabrics. If anyone would like to knit, crochet, or sew, they can reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to give them all of the information. But again, the work session is this Wednesday, the 29th, from 6 to 9 in the Friends Auditorium at the library. Installation will be happening on Thursday, the 30th, hopefully right before the tree lighting ceremony. And separate from that, I would like to say, as the former First Lady of this community, I would like to congratulate everyone who is coming to the commission. Mr. Mayor, congratulations. I know what it is to sit in your seat from the other side. I would like to thank Commissioner Donegan, Commissioner Marley, and Commissioner Polton for being part of one of the most successful commission teams I think I have ever seen in my time in this city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. Okay, anybody else that wishes to speak tonight? Going once, going twice. All right, we're going to pull the meeting back up this way. This brings us to item number 6 on today's agenda, the 48th City Commission farewell comments. And before we get started with each commissioner's farewell comments, we have a little token of our appreciation we'd like to present on behalf of the City Commission staff and everybody to the outgoing commissioners. Jeremy, it's not a new car, so don't get too excited. It's a city budget, all right? I'd first like to start with Marie Donegan, Commissioner Marie Donegan.
Get up.
Here, we'll stand right here so we have a mic.
Okay.
So, for those of you who don't know, Marie Donegan stepped in in a time of need, when we had a commissioner leave this commission for personal reasons. We went through, we scoured, we looked for the right person, and Marie Donegan stepped up to the plate. She was a former commissioner, former state rep. She brought an amazing wealth of experience to her role as a city commissioner. And I got to tell you personally, I'm so proud to have served with Marie Donegan. And we have a little plaque here that says, in recognition of Marie Donegan, in grateful appreciation for the dedicated services to the city of Royal Oak, City Commissioner from December 1st, 1997 to December 6, 2004, and January 9th, 2017 to November 27th, 2017. And we present this to you. You can put it on your wall and remember all the fond times that we've had.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Jeremy Marley. Come up here, Jeremy. Should have worn my heels tonight. What can we say about Jeremy Marley? Jeremy Marley was first elected back in 2013. And I got to tell you, I was very happy when he was elected because he took my spot as the punching bag for former Mayor Ellison. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Jeremy and I have always had great ideas. Jeremy has brought a lot of ideas to this table. He really brought a voice that was much needed. Jeremy, hometown Royal Oak person, Dondero graduate, and did an amazing job up here bringing so many things to this table that, quite frankly, I don't think that we would have looked at unless he was here. And I could list them all right now. We are going to have some additional comments, so the roasting appreciation is not over. But it's been truly an honor to serve alongside Jeremy Marley. And we present this plaque to you, Mr. Marley, for your dedicated service to the city of Royal Oak, and we're all proud to have served with you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, and our longtime favorite, David Polton. Dave, I gotta tell you, this guy's been a mentor to me. He was on the commission a couple years before I started. You were first elected in 2009, back when this millennium still had single digits in its cadence here. Dave served on many different commissions. He helped see a lot of things through in this community. He was on the planning commission for a long time. He served as mayor pro tem for the city of Royal Oak for a couple years. Dave has always had insightful comments. He's been a strong voice at the commission. I can tell you on a few occasions when DTE and other, well, we'll just leave it at DTE for the moment. Dave was a voice for all of our residents, making sure that our trees weren't getting cut down, making sure that when power lines were on top of houses, that solutions were being found to make sure that these fires could be put out, and that, DTE would hear our concerns and address them, and it came from the strong voice of Dave Polton. Those are just a couple highlights of the things that Dave has done for this community. And, as one of the longest-serving commissioners here in Royal Oak, he's accomplished so much. And again, just like with Commissioner Marley, there'll be more time for comments, but we wanted to present this to you, Dave, in honor of you and all the services that you provide and all your dedication to this city over the years. Wholeheartedly, from the bottom of our heart, we know you've made this community so much better than it was before you took office.
Thank you.
We really appreciate everything, Dave. So I'm going to ask, so the rest of us commissioners that will remain here, and for the new commissioners that will be coming up here shortly, if you can share, we'll start with Marie Donegan, some words of closure, words of wisdom, words of advice, and words of reflection.
Advice, yeah. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and the City Commission, for really giving me this great opportunity to come back after all this time to serve the city of Royal Oak again. And I have to say, when I first got up here, the first meeting, I thought, what am I doing back here again? It just seemed like it had been so long. But it's been a real pleasure, and I actually will miss all of you. We have the best people working in the city, the best staff, and the best city commissioners that I've seen really in the state. Jim Ellison, when he went to the legislature, he said people would say to him, oh my God, you were a mayor in Royal Oak? And it's true, that's what happened to me too when I went to the legislature. They said, oh God, you're so great that you were a city commissioner in Royal Oak. That must be the best job in the world. And it's true, it is. So I've been really humbled by the support I've received in the community. I thought everybody had forgotten about me after all these years, but it turns out when you go to the grocery store, people still remember you, and they still want to stop you in the vegetable department and ask you questions and tell you what they think about, something that you've been doing. And so that's been very humbling to me. And I've also met a whole lot of new people, a lot of them through Facebook and a lot of them just from hanging around here this last year, all kinds of new people that were either new to me or hopefully new to Royal Oak. A lot of young families, and a lot of young families with kids. I grew up here. My husband, Kevin, and I grew up here. And he was on the school board for 12 and a half years when they had to close schools. Now it's reversing. And our school district is filling up with children, and I think it's so great. So I have a lot of real confidence in this future of the city of Royal Oak, and I really believe that it's in good hands, as it always has been. But I do hope that all of you, this is the advice part, that all of you, new and returning commissioners, will attend the Michigan Municipal League's Elected Officials Academy. It's worth the time and the money. Building relationships with each other and other elected officials is really important. And what's one of the best parts of it is it's worth your time to hear what other people do, how they run their meetings, how they run their cities. You'll be shocked at some of what you hear, and you'll be glad that we do things the way that we do them here, because you can't believe what other commissions do. But you can always learn from other people new tricks of the trade, new parliamentary procedures, new rules. Everybody can use a refresher course on the Open Meetings Act. Really very important. stuff to really understand. And it's a good thing to do actually together as city commissioners, if you can figure out how to time it, because building relationships with other people on the commission is really important too. So I think it'll be a great 2018. I'm not going to fade into the woodwork this time. 2018, we're looking forward to the new park at Normandy Oaks. I've been involved with that task force. I intend to stay involved in one way or another because I think it's a really important park. I'm really excited that we're doing a master plan, and I look forward to be forward-thinking, and I really want it to be award-winning, one that the people of the state of Michigan think, look what they did in Royal Oak, look at their great master plan. I think we can work on some innovative solutions to address affordable housing. As Kevin and I get a little bit older, we're happy to think about living on one floor. So we have a lot of opportunities here in the city of Royal Oak to ensure that people can stay here and age in place. Not only do we want young families, but we want our older families to stay here too. I also think we need to work on we being all of us, new and better ways to communicate with the public. I think we found that out this year, that communication is really, really important, and Facebook isn't everything. We set the bar pretty high with the Normandy Oaks public outreach, and I think that's the kind of thing we'll be expecting as we move forward. And I'm really counting on all of you to get our new police station and city hall built, to really break ground on that this year. It's 20 years late already, and I regret that back in my first term we didn't start that project or even finish it. The sooner we get it done, then the better, and I hope our new city commissioners will take the opportunity to take a really good look at that project and add their 2 cents to it, but really believe what the staff has put together and believe what they're telling you is we have the best staff in the world and they will always tell you the truth. So like I said, I won't be fading into the woodwork this time. I'm interested in the master plan. I'm totally interested in this issue of affordable housing. And I hope you'll embrace the work of the local transit task force that we're going to be talking about later when I'm out in the audience. Looking from out there. And I hope you'll also feel free to attend the meetings. We're going to I'll talk a little bit about it later, but the more knowledge we share as a community about this topic, the better. And that's it. And again, thank you for giving me this really awesome opportunity.
Thank you, Marie Donegan. Commissioner Jeremy Marley, what words of advice, words of wisdom, words of reflection do you have for this commission? For
You
our
actually think
residents?
I have words of wisdom? Wow. Thanks, Mayor. As I sat down to kind of come up with an outline of some farewell remarks, I thought it appropriate to start with a quote, well, actually paraphrasing the most dedicated public servants I know, any of us know. That's Leslie Knope. During the past 4 years here together, we fought, scratched, and clawed to make people's lives a tiny bit better. That's what public service is all about. Small, incremental change every day. Teddy Roosevelt once said, "Far and away the best prize that life has to offer is to work hard at work worth doing." And I would add that what makes work worth doing is getting to do it with people that you love. And, over the past 4 years and the hundreds, thousands of hours that we've all spent up here together, I think it's safe to say you guys and gals have kind of become a second family. It's not always been pleasurable, but it's always been fulfilling because we've always been doing the hard work for the people of Royal Oak. Marie, thanks for stepping up when we needed you. Thank you for your continued advocacy on transit and so many other issues. Kevin, thanks for letting us have her. Pat, thank you for stepping up when we needed you. And Dave, thanks for letting us have her. You bring so much wisdom to the table. Even when I'm on the opposite side of an argument with you, I know your argument is going to be so well articulated and so on point that I don't stand a chance, even though I'm sure I'm right. Dave, thank you for your years and years of service. It was great getting to know you, sitting next to you for the last 2 years, getting to know you, working with you on things like construction site ordinances and so many other issues. Shar, my running mate, thanks for helping me win.
Mutual.
Stick to your guns. I know your heart's in the right place. I know your mind's in the right place, but stick to your guns and everything will go well for you up here. Mr. Mayor, you know, I remember before my election when the South Oakland Eccentric endorsed the three of us sitting here, actually. They said that I would bring a new youthful voice to the table that wasn't represented. Even though you were the same age as I was when I got elected. Well, I'm leaving, so you're the youthful voice at the table again. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for sitting next to me for 2 years and joking with me, telling me your dad jokes, and really, you know, becoming a friend. I really appreciate it. Kyle. Kyle. I'm gonna miss our arguments. Nobody would know this, but Kyle and I would sit over a beer and argue endlessly about city issues. Seriously, endlessly. He was always right and I was always right, and we were never able to find middle ground, but we always found middle ground. It was, you know, over these past 4 years, honestly, you've become one of my closest friends, and I'm gonna miss having these arguments. Well, we'll still find time to have these arguments in a couple of years. Dave Gillum, thank you for coming back. I don't think I need to say anything else other than that, but the city is in much better shape with you around. So thank you for everything, and thank you for putting up with my bad jokes with you. I appreciate it.
No offense,
Chief, thank you for sticking around. You know, we've got some of the best-run public safety departments, I think, in my opinion, in the state. In no small part due to your leadership. You could have left us, but you chose to stay, and we are endlessly grateful. Thank you very much to you and to the police and fire departments as well. Thank you. Greg Rassel, Tim Twing, Joe Murphy, Jason Craig, Matt Callahan. You know, thank you guys for your dedication to the city. I have certainly had differences with each of them over the last 4 years. I like to think that I've had a small measure of success in getting them to focus on things that I want them to focus on. You know, planning and engineering don't just do things the way they've always been done. You know, we try, you know, I talked about incremental change in my little Leslie Knope quote at the beginning. You know, we try things, don't be afraid to fail. You know, we tried bike lanes on Main Street, and even though the data showed that it worked, and we decided not to leave them there, but we are now putting bike lanes throughout the city. We have a major north-south bike route going in next year. And that's because we tried new things. Don't just pull up concrete and put it back down the way that it was. Think outside of the box. Judy, thank you for joining us. I think it's safe to say having you as the face of the city and not Don Johnson has been
It's a beautiful face.
has been beneficial to all of us. Julie Rudd and your award-winning budgets. It was great working with you in my time on the retirement committee. Melanie, one of the kindest people I know. Thank you for your dedicated service and your extremely well-run department. Jim Chisholm. Carol Schwanger, Mike Kirby, Mary Jo Paulo, Brandy Matthew, Howard Schiffman, and so many others who I've worked with over the last 4 years and gotten to know. Thank you for everything you do for the city. Jim Ellison, you've got some facial hair. That must mean it's wintertime. One of the things I talked about when I ran for office was returning civility to the table. And despite our numerous arguments up here, and sometimes loud arguments up here, I think we managed to do that. Our arguments were always civil, even when they got loud. They were always fact-based. They were never personal. We would have an argument up here, and we would shake hands after and drink a beer after, and go right back to being friends. Thank you for your decades of service to this community. It is much better because of you. To those I've worked with and gotten to know over the last 4 years, they say never list names because you'll inevitably leave somebody out, but people like Clyde Esbury, Mike and Dawn Rapinski, Judges Meinecke and Wittenberg, Jay and Patty Dunstan, Rob Moore, Dave Richards, Ann Vara, Dennis Cowan, Brett Talander, Sean Lewis-Lakin, Jason Krieger, Becky Moss, Jody Ellison, Mike Safaya, Brandon Colo, Shelley Kemp, and everyone at the Chamber, Jason Giddinger, Howard Collins, Carrie O'Neill, and of course the Rock on Third. Thank you for all you do for the city. To those who helped get me here, again, just a few names, and my apologies for leaving names out, but Deb Lobring, Mary Mills, Eileen Orlansky, Joanne Brond, Dave Woodward, Tom Regan, Alex Fike, and Amanda Klein. Thank you for helping me get here and have the opportunity to serve on this commission. It's been the pleasure of my lifetime to have been chosen by the residents of Royal Oak, by my neighbors, my friends, to serve the community where I was born and raised for these past 4 years. We've made some huge strides in making this a better city, and I don't mean that to sound like a pat on the back, but it's true. We've gotten a lot done over the last 4 years. And Don, even though I've had some disagreements with your methods, it's really because of your leadership of the entire staff of the city. I'm just going to repeat what I said about the other staff, but thank you for your dedication to this city. Thank you for leading us through the recession and placing us on strong footing for the future, and for everything that you've done for the city. Thank you. I could list all of the things that we've done over the last 4 years. That would take a really long time. So I'll just list a few of them. Our home values continue to skyrocket. Crime is at all-time lows. We've put in place unprecedented investments in our neighborhoods, our parks, our trees, our police and fire departments, the farmers market, our stormwater system, our roads. And if your road hasn't been repaired or resurfaced or reconstructed yet, that's happening soon. And our downtown. We have hundreds and soon to be thousands of new jobs coming to the city. Thanks to Don's and Julie's leadership, after previous commissions kicked the can down the road for decades, we've solved the issue of our legacy costs. It's an issue that nearly every municipality in Michigan faces, but because of our strong financial position, we were able to essentially solve this problem in a way that keeps our promise to those who have given their blood, sweat, and tears to making the city a great place to live by maintaining their pensions. Don and Julie and everyone else involved with that, thank you for helping us keep our promise. What else? Early next year, we'll finally have a building on the Woodward and 696 property that has been vacant, I think, almost my entire life living here in the city. We put in place construction, I mentioned with Dave, construction site ordinance revisions. We've got a couple more to make. I remember the motion distinctly that engineering and building both are supposed to be bringing a couple of things back, Don, so don't let them off the hook. Beaumont, hi Maureen. Beaumont is spending tens of millions of dollars to reinvent the Northwood Shopping Center on the outskirts of downtown. A new Hyatt branded hotel is being built. No longer will your out-of-town guests have to stay in a hotel, well, out of town. Not to mention the re-envisioning of, not to forget, the re-envisioning of the Motor Lodge on 11 Mile from a dilapidated motel into actually a really nice place to stay. So we currently have a hotel in the city in Hotel Royal Oak. So thank you, Jim Razor, and his business partners for that. I mentioned our strong financial position in allowing us to do the legacy costs, but we have a AA+ bond rating, which is higher than I think every one of our neighboring cities and most others in Oakland County. So Don and Julie, again, thank you for that. And so those are just a handful of the things. And we're able to do it all with the exception of the voter-approved road and public safety millages without raising taxes. In fact, this year, our tax rate actually decreased and still remains near the median for Oakland County communities. So it's been a productive 4 years, to say the least. There's a lot more to be done. We have two major park projects currently in the works. In the north end, where I live, in 48073, Normandy Oaks is in the early part of the planning process. Once completed, it'll be the largest park in the city, and dare I say, our park system's crown jewel. Here, actually right where we're sitting right now in the south end in 48067, one thing that I talked about when I campaigned, a downtown park is well into the works. As we have seen with Normandy Oaks, there's going to be extensive resident engagement and feedback in its design, and I'm confident in the leadership of the next commission to ensure that it will be a gem that will draw families and people to our city and our downtown. I could go on and on and on and on about the work still to be done. Things like continued implementation of our non-motorized transit plan, a long overdue update to our master plan, a better solution to the way we fund sidewalk repairs and replacement, more investment in senior transit and mobility and senior targeted housing. But it's time for others to take the lead. Melanie, Kim, and Randy, I offer you this quote from Hamilton, an American Musical. Winning is easy, governing is harder. You're going to be making a lot of tough choices up here. And I'm going to pass on words of wisdom that one of our current school board members passed on to me. You're going to upset people while you're up here. It's going to happen. Not everybody is going to be happy with every single decision that you make. But you're not doing the job right if you're making everybody happy all of the time. I think the sidewalks are actually a really good example of this. You don't just think about the people directly affected. Think about, the people on the corner lot. Think about the 10 neighbors down the street who will also be using those sidewalks. Your job isn't just to represent the citizens of Royal Oak. It is. But you also have a fiduciary responsibility to make the best decisions for this grand idea of Royal Oak that has been going on for nearly a century now. So I'm going to steal from my my normal invocation a couple of words. May you be granted the wisdom and courage to know and do what is right and good and true. May you speak out when it's time to speak out and listen. Speak out when it's time to speak out and listen patiently and receptively when it's time to listen. May you always be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of optimism, by the spirit of justice, by the spirit of hope, and by the spirit of love. And I'll finish, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm going for your record of longest time on the mic here. I'll finish like I started with another Leslie Knope quote, because what better way to end? I started in this line of works a good 20 years ago. Right here in Royal Oak at Dondero when I was a class officer my junior year. I've had a lot of different jobs since, and next year I'll be engaging on This is a paraphrase, by the way, not a quote, obviously. I've got a new journey next year helping to represent Royal Oak at the federal level. The work to me, even now, even though I've been doing this for 20 years, is still thrilling, and that's because I love the work. It's not to say that public service isn't sexy, because it definitely is, but that's not why we do it. We do it because we get the chance to work hard and work at work worth doing alongside a team of people you love. So I thank those people who've walked with me. I thank you for the honor of representing this community that I've called home for 36 years. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marley. Mr. Colton.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll have to start off by saying thank you to Royal Oak. Thank you for allowing me the privilege to serve this wonderful community over the past 8 years. During that time, I've been able to talk to people at ball fields, parks, coffee shops as their voice, and they like to know what's going on in the city. They approach me and I would tell them what's going on, and I think I got the point across on what's going on, so it provided them some sort of common touch with. We have a lot of common interest with sports, but we also have in the city, so and enjoy doing that. I'm sure I will continue to do and continue to inform the public on what's going on. So it's been a great privilege to serve this community in this capacity as a city commissioner. And I also want to say thank you to all those who have had the honor to serve with over the years. Many different people came from many different backgrounds. It's been a great experience to work with each of you. Working together, although we've come from different backgrounds, we had the one goal in mind, what is right for the city. And what we did over those 8 years, we right-sized the city. We've gone from the bleak days of economic decline to a city with rising home values, new development, and a city that's become the envy of all communities across the state. It's also been a pleasure to work with and get to know so many people that make up our city's workforce. These individuals are the backbone of the city. They're outstanding people who do amazing work for us each day. They don't get all the accolades, but they do the work, and I want to thank you for your service. Most importantly, I want to thank my family for their support and dedication during my time on the commission. I could always count on them following a long meeting or after dealing with a controversial issue to provide some sort of peace and comfort. I also want to thank all my extended family and friends who have helped our family through the years get everything that we needed to do done, and for all the support you've shown us. It has been an honor to serve as a city commissioner of this city. While serving you, I have always strived to do what is best for the entire city, and I'm proud of the accomplishments we have made. I'm confident that this next commission will continue to move our city in the right direction, and better days are ahead for Royal Oak. I thank everyone for their support and wish everyone the best.
Thank you, Commissioner Polk. Commissioner Dubois.
Thank you, Mayor. So Commissioners Marley, Polton, and Donegan, thanks for the words of wisdom, and thank you for your service. It's been an honor serving with all of you, and as Commissioner Marley said so eloquently, we've done some real things together. I will not delineate them all again, but real things, real tangible things that took a lot of work. And some opinions to the side, we were not always on the same side of these debates. Like this took years of debate and discussion and back and forth between all of us. And I think we've all contributed our part, and each one of you and the opinions you brought to the table and the work that you put in, I think has changed the direction of our city for the better for generations to come. So Commissioner Marley, you had mentioned our fierce debates, which I very much enjoy as well. You said, I'm always right and you're always right, and per usual, you're about half right. You know where to find me, and I'm sure that your counsel will have value even when you're not at the table, and I'm sure you'll still be plenty plugged in and more than happy to share your opinions with me going forward. Thanks for being such a fierce advocate for your progressive vision for what our city should be. And I think some of the values that you brought to the table are going to be here long after you've stepped away. Commissioner Polden, certainly we've over 6 years together, been on the opposite side of many a split vote, but always respectfully and thoughtfully, and I've always appreciated your approach to stating your position, and it's always been thoughtful and always uncompromisingly representing the residents, or what you believe is in the best interest of the residents of Royal Oak. And when you were on my side, it was even better. It's like, hooray, Dave's on my side. So, thanks for your service and, for both, the cooperation and for the debate, because I think everything that we've done here together has made the city better. And your calm, cool voice will very much be missed. And Commissioner Donegan, so glad you were able to step in when a commissioner had to step away for personal reasons, which I believe was to become mayor.
After the other one became state rep.
Right. You brought a wealth of institutional wisdom and insight that I think has been tremendously helpful as we've gone through some of the big changes and big discussions that we've had over the last few years. And so it was just a tremendous stroke of luck that you were willing and able to step into this role in this particular period of time, where I think you're the perfect right person to the right job at the right time. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sounding the alarm on transit. And I think you've kicked off a discussion that's going to continue, and we're actually going to pursue this in earnest, and I expect you to be there, correcting the whip every step of the way, and make sure that we are thoughtfully and honestly pursuing that conversation. So thank you all again. I'm sure that we'll all be seeing plenty of each other regularly, because we all live here. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Commissioner Perush.
First of all, it's so nice to see everyone wearing ties tonight. That doesn't always happen. I'm not going to talk long because so many wonderful things have already been said and I don't need to repeat any of them. I just want you all to know that it has been an honor to serve with every single one of you that are not only going to stay, but also who are leaving us. Thank you for whatever part you had in bringing me back a couple of years ago when someone did have to leave the City Commission for personal reasons. I don't think over the course of my years of service, not only now but in my past life, I've ever served with a city commission that held in one single body the collective amount of intelligence and experience and true commitment to serving the community as a whole as to what is best for the community, as this commission has been. And so it's truly been an honor to serve with every single one of you. I'm going to miss sitting at the table with all of you, but I have no doubt whatsoever that you are going to go on to wonderful things in the future. We may see you again in some role, certainly, in the community over time. Many of you are not leaving some of the roles that you've maintained here in the city at all. Marie's still going to be involved with transit. And we'll all look forward to doing good things together in some way or another in the future. So thank you for your service. And we'll see you around in the grocery store.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Perush.
Much has already been said. Thank you, Commissioner Marley. So I'll just, and he's not the only one who can quote Hamilton. I've used this before in an invocation, and I'll trot it out again. Lyrics from the Broadway musical. Alexander Hamilton, as he contemplates his death, says, "Legacy. What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. I wrote some notes at the beginning of a song someone will sing for me." Our departing commissioners here wrote notes to a song that others will sing. We who remain at this table, the people of Royal Oak, because that's the nature of government. We're not a single commission. We are a body that continues and continually improves our city. So your legacy lives on in the work that we will do here at the table and the work that we will do in conjunction with the people of Royal Oak. So Jeremy, Dave, Marie, I thank you very much for your service, and as others have said, we know we haven't seen the last of you, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Douglas. I'll just add a few comments of my own. You know, I can't thank Marie, Dave, and Jeremy enough for their contributions to this city, to this commission. And like it's been said by everyone else up here, you know, you guys made a true difference in this community. I just want to reiterate what Commissioner Marley said. Just kidding. All of our accomplishments. No, I just like to add, you know, everyone brought something different to this commission. And I think that's what's made us one of the strongest bodies that we've seen up here in a long time. Even with former Mayor Ellison up here with his construction background, everyone's brought something different. And, you know, Commissioner Marley, I mean, certainly he brings a lot of experience navigating federal government and things like that. So from a tactical perspective, we could always rely on him for his insights on how, you know, to work with the federal government. But, you know, I got to say, Jeremy brought a lot of strength to the commission. He was undoubtedly, probably, I can go back and count it, the record holder of the 6-1 vote, being the one vote, staying to his conviction, unwilling, and I'm not judging him, to compromise on certain things because he had the strength every single time to believe in his convictions. And albeit he is a compromising person and works, there are points where he has a line, and, you know, we have to give him a lot of, commend him for, on a number of occasions, sticking up to his vision and being that lone vote. And that takes strength, I can tell you. We all want to be liked. We all, you know, Jeremy is well liked, and he stood up to his conviction. Commissioner Polton, I kind of labeled you as the fighter. I could tell over there when issues were getting a little hot and things weren't going the right way for this community, you can always count on Dave Polton to get out there with his strong voice, his strong ways, and his strength and his fighting spirit to make this community better. And I could list occasions like we mentioned with DTE, the construction ordinance, you name it. Dave's a fighter. And I look forward to the work that he's going to do, you know, moving forward in his career. Commissioner Donegan, you bring a lot of experience and wisdom to this table, but your candor, your outright, this is how it is, explanation of things has really made this body efficient and has gotten to the heart of many issues that have we've had to solve during your tenure up here. And I mean, it's just been amazing working with you here on the city commission, and we can't thank you enough. And again, I just want to reiterate, this body, these folks all brought something different to the table, and our community is so much better off because of that diversity. So those are my final comments. Again, thank you so much. It's been an honor for all of us to serve with you, as you can tell, and you're going to be sorely missed. But like Commissioner Dubuck said, we'll know where to find you, so don't worry. And Commissioner Marley, public comment is limited to 5 minutes. So with that, there's no further comments. I am going to call the adjournment of the 48th City Commission. I'll accept a motion to do that. Commissioner Marley.
Thanks, Mayor. One last time, one final time. I hereby declare the business of the 48th City Commission of the City of Royal Oak is completed, and I move that we adjourn that austere body.
We have a very well thought out and articulated motion by Commissioner Marley. Support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Dubuck. Any discussion? All right.
Change my mind.
You can vote no.
Too late.
With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. The 48th Royal Oak City Commission is now adjourned. Alrighty, everyone, we're getting ready to start the swearing in for the 49th Royal Oak City Commission.
Need to be there too? Yeah?
Yeah, I think you were elected. We're going to start with Mr. Levasseur, and then we're going to proceed with Ms. Gibbs, Ms. Macy, Ms. Douglas, and then I guess I'll get sworn in as well. So with that, I guess we're lining up. I'll pop on down there and we'll start.
She can hold it or whatever. Okay. All right. I, Randy Levasseur.
I, Randy Levasseur,
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Michigan
and the Constitution and the laws of the State of Michigan
and all local ordinances of the City of Royal Oak,
and all local ordinances of the City of Royal Oak,
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge duties of the office of City Commissioner
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge duties of the office of City Commissioner
according to the law and the best of my ability.
according to the law and to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Please repeat after me. I, Kim Gibbs,
I, Kim Gibbs,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and
of
laws
the State of Michigan
of the State of Michigan
and all local ordinances
and all local ordinances
of the City of Royal Oak.
of the City of Royal Oak.
And I will faithfully and impartially
And I will faithfully and impartially
discharge duties
discharge duties
of the office of City Commissioner
of the office of City Commissioner
according to the law
according to the law
and to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Maybe he needs help holding it. Okay. I, Melanie Macy,
I, Melanie Macy,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Michigan
and the Constitution and laws of the State of Michigan
and all local ordinances
and all local ordinances
of the City of Royal Oak,
of the City of Royal Oak,
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge duties
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge duties
of the office of City Commissioner
of the office of City Commissioner
according to the law and to the best of my ability.
according to the law and the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I, Sherilyn Douglas,
I, Charlene Douglas,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the State of Michigan
of the State of Michigan
and all local ordinances
and all local ordinances
of the City of Royal Oak.
of the City of Royal Oak.
And I will faithfully and impartially
And I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of the office of
Dis-
City Commissioner
discharge the duties of the office of City Commissioner
according to the law
according to the law
and to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my ability.
I, Michael Fournier,
I, Michael Fournier,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the State of Michigan
of the State of Michigan
and all local ordinances
and all local ordinances
of the City of Royal Oak.
of the City of Royal Oak.
And I will faithfully and impartially
And I will faithfully and impartially
discharge duties of the office of mayor
discharge duties of the office of mayor
according to the law
according to the law
and to the best of my ability.
and to the best of my ability.
I know you will, Mike.
Welcome, new commissioners. This is a great honor, a great privilege. I'll speak on behalf of myself. We're excited to have you here. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and it all starts tonight when we convene the 49th Royal Oak City Commission. So, with that welcome, let's convene the 49th Royal Oak City Commission. All right. Well, I guess that was the call to order.
It was the big gavel.
It was the big gavel. So our very first official business that we have as the 49th City Commission is the approval of the agenda. And I've been made aware of one particular additional item to the agenda if, a commissioner is willing to add it. It's dealing with the Royal Oak Holiday Spectacular. There's been a request for permits that due to a change in venue, a change in the spectacular itself. And so I know our city staff would like to see that added to the agenda today. So as we move forward with the approval of the agenda, I hope whoever makes the motion can add that item to the agenda so we can discuss it today and make a decision if we approve those permits or not. Mr. Levasseur, Commissioner Levasseur.
Thank you, Mayor. There is an item on the consent agenda I'd like to see move to the regular agenda as well. That's item D, the extension of the ice arena management agreement.
So we have a recommendation to move item D from consent. We have a suggestion on the Royal Oak Holiday Spectacular. Is there a motion?
Move for approval of the agenda with the addition of Commissioner Levasseur's recommendation and the Holiday Spectacular addition.
Okay, is there support? Supported by Commissioner Douglas. First vote, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. Okay, that brings us to item number 11, the consent agenda, which consists of City Commission meeting minutes from October 23rd and November 13th, 2017, claims from November 21st and November 24th, 2017, approval of purchase order, and minor possession ordinance amendments, second reading. Commissioner Douglas.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Commissioner Douglas. Is there support? Commissioner Perush. Any discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. This brings us to formerly item number D on the consent agenda, the extension of the Ice Arena Management Agreement, Suburban Arena Management, Royal Oak, L.L.C. Mr. Levasseur.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no objections to the particular management company that's serving here, but I do believe, given the length of the contract, it's 7 years, that it's something that deserved a little bit of attention. As a general rule, I don't feel comfortable simply renewing contracts. I do believe the appropriate process should be to open it up for bids. Certainly provide this company with the opportunity to submit a bid as well, and certainly see what our options are rather than simply renew for 7 years with a limited opportunity to move forward or move on if we have concerns, say, 3-4 years down the road.
Any other comments, discussion? Any questions for Mr. Rassel? Maybe Mr. Rassel, you can help address me.
We did this contract out 7 years ago when our ice arena was in a period of turmoil. The previous management, when we managed it ourselves, was let go. We had 3 responsive bidders to that bid 7 years ago. The current provider, a totally unqualified company, and another company that manages arenas. They manage the one in Taylor. They are a company that also is either headquartered in Southern Illinois or New York State, where they also managed arenas. We chose to go with Suburban Ice Company because they were a strong Michigan company. They've managed the Farmington Hills Municipal Rink for well over a decade. So we chose them. They've taken our revenues from about 1.1 million to 1.6 million during that time frame. And as is stated, the cleanliness and operation of the arena has never been better. They asked for a longer term lease on this time. The reason it's 7 years versus the 5 of the previous arena is they were looking for some stability because they wanted to be protected in case there's some change in city management over the coming years. As Mr. Gazzetti is leaving in March, I will be leaving in a couple of years, and other city staff members that they've developed a working relationship to protect themselves. And they traded for a longer term. They went with a more set rate for their management fee, and everything else is based on a percentage on how they perform concerning their revenues.
If I may question Mr. Rassel. Mr. Rassel, if I understand correctly, the current contract runs through the end of June?
The current contract runs through the end of June.
All right. And if I understand, do you see a time sensitivity that requires us to make a decision today, or is this something that we could make a decision on in the coming weeks?
If you're going to tell me to bid it out, it needs to be done today, because to do a bid process, we'd be extending the contract another year. The process to bring them on, the bid process was over a year process to get through the process. If we're just going to do a bid and we have to be in place by June 1st, there's probably very few companies, if there is any company, that can take over that quickly.
Right. So generally speaking, you believe a year for a bid process?
If you want to have a smooth turnover without any loose ends, if there's a changeover, we could definitely put together a bid and have it out. But I think the companies that you're soliciting to make the competitive bids are going to know that you're just whitewashing it. And once again, this company, Mr. Fair could not be here tonight because he was doing some stuff with USA Hockey as well, in which he sits on the board. And once again, their performance over the last 7 years has been nothing short of spectacular.
As this contract comes up, have you heard from any other companies that were interested in?
No, we have not.
Commissioner Dubuck.
Well, I appreciate the concern. I think the primary consideration here is the service delivery, and the quality of service is, what we intend to provide to our residents. And given that those who use the arena most are very, very satisfied with this vendor, and we're continuing an existing contract, which we already approved, which means the terms are acceptable to the city, I'm happy to move for the resolution as proposed by staff.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dubuck. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Perush. Further discussion, Commissioner Dubuck?
I think the reason that this is on consent agenda is that it's a contract that has previously been deemed acceptable. We've been, as a city, exceedingly happy with this service provider. I'm not aware of any complaints or issues with their performance, so I'm willing to take the staff recommendation.
Commissioner Perush.
The only thing that I would add is, over the years, when the ice arena was first established, and then when it was added on to for a second arena, there were a lot of vendors out there and a lot of management companies because there was a growth area in this type of activity, recreational activity in communities. That's not the case today. In fact, the opposite is the case. Many communities are eliminating their arenas or actually cutting back on the type of services that they provide. So as Mr. Rassel noted, the number of companies that are qualified to bid on this, and certainly Michigan companies, is a shrinking number. So I am not convinced that if we were to go out for bid, we would get any bidders other than Suburban, and certainly any bidders that are much better than Suburban. So I'm comfortable with extending the contract this evening.
Commissioner Macy.
Just wanted to add my voice as a resident who is extremely satisfied with the ice arena. It's been really well run. It's great for the kids. It looks nice, and I've been really pleased with it.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Lavasser.
Yes, and again, I have no particular concerns with this service provider, with the management company. Mine is more about the process and not simply making it the routine to just renew contracts. I do believe we owe it to the people of our city to open up the process, to make sure that we're seeing what our options are and we're providing the best services and the best options for the public here. I recognize the time sensitivity that Mr. Rassel referenced. I would make a friendly amendment, proposal of friendly amendment, that we modify the contract to 2 years instead of 7 years. This would provide us with some continuity. It would also give us the opportunity to pursue this in an open bid process going forward into the future.
I think from a Robert's Rules perspective, we have to deal with the motion on the table first, and then we would have to deal with a second motion, correct?
Well, it's a motion to amend
Motion
the motion that's on the table. So it's a question of if there's support to amend the motion that's on the table already or not.
So Commissioner Lasser, are you making a motion to amend?
That is my motion.
Okay, is there support?
I will second that.
Okay, we have support by Commissioner Gibbs. Any further discussion on the amendment to the original motion? If everyone's keeping track. Commissioner Macy.
Can we ask Mr. Rassel more questions?
Sure.
Why the number 7? How did we land on the 7 years?
Because we've gone 7 years under the current contract. There was an initial 5-year contract with 2 one-year extensions, and we did 2 one-year extensions, vice bringing this contract to this point. A lot of it was timing to get the contract approved and negotiating of the terms of the extension. And that's the reason why it's cut before you as your first item tonight instead of something that was staff was trying to get done last September.
Any other discussion on the motion to amend the motion? Okay, with none, I'll call for the vote. The vote would be to amend the motion to a 2-year contract versus a 7-year contract. Commissioner Lavasser, I have it correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed?
No.
Okay, so the motion fails. So that brings us back to the original motion.
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion on the original motion? Commissioner Perush.
The only thing that I would add is that we rarely extend a contract. Almost always we're going out for bids. This is an unusual circumstance, given the nature of the contract and the nature of the business community out there for this particular type of service. So we don't do this very often, certainly at all, just to extend without new bids. But in this case, I think it's warranted.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, given some of the history, and I've been part of the Parks and Rec Board before I was a commissioner, and the turmoil we had to go through finding an operator, finding one that performed. I mean, we were running it ourselves for a while, and I don't have to bring up all the details of that black eye in our history, but you know, I agree with Commissioner Perush, almost everything we bid out, but at the same time, this agreement allows us, if there are performance issues, we can always exit the agreement. There are incentives here for them to perform, you know, so we can keep an eye on them. We bid this out a while ago, and if you understand how the hockey arena or the ice arena works, the management is very well entrenched. It's not as simple as bringing in a food vendor, popping them in and popping them out. And they've done an amazing job with programming. Programming brings revenue in. It allows us to keep the ice arena in the black and not be a burden to taxpayers. And there is a risk that if you go away and not reward the excellent performance here, you know, like Mr. Rassel said, switching someone in and out is a real headache. And I think here we have no reason to believe that people are upset with the services. And, you know, we're certainly in the black. And, you know, for me, it is one of these unusual circumstances, just knowing the history behind the ice arena here. So I guess with that, I'll call for the vote. So the motion is to extend the contract, so we don't get confused with the previous motion. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Okay, that brings us to organizational issues, item number 12. And we'll start in alphabetical order, 12A. I am going to let Mr. Johnson, or is it Mr. Chisholm, Mr. Johnson, let you talk about the agenda of, or the commission, city commission schedule for 2018.
Bring the letter up. Basically, we're proposing to continue with the second and fourth Mondays, but there are a couple of exceptions. Actually, there are 3 exceptions. Those occur with the second meeting in March being moved forward to the 19th at the mayor's request. The second meeting in May being moved forward because of Memorial Day. And the second meeting in December being moved because of Christmas Eve.
So, Commissioner Douglas.
I'll move approval of the proposed meeting schedule.
We have a motion by Commissioner Douglas, supported by Commissioner Perush. Any discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes, and we have a schedule for 2018. All right, that brings us to 12B, adoptions of rules of procedure. Mr. Johnson, I'll let you kick this one off.
We have a motion prepared to adopt the standard rules of procedure. These include Robert's Rules of Order for the actual meeting rules, and then the rules of procedure for public participation and the city commission meeting rules of procedure that were previously adopted by prior commissions are also presented. I just should mention that we do have a rules committee that considers changes and recommends those to the commission. It hasn't met in some time now, but that's where rules of procedure generally come from. In this case, we're stating that if there's inconsistencies between Robert's rules and the Royal Oak Commission meeting rules of procedure, the latter document shall prevail.
Commissioner Perush.
I will move approval of the City Commission meeting rules of procedure with one suggested change, and that is on attachment number 1, item number 3. It says prior to the posting of the City Commission meeting agenda, which is usually on Thursday or Friday, a time will be added to the agenda upon receipt of a written request from any 2 City Commission members. I would recommend that that be changed to a written or email request from any 3 City Commission members by the city manager. And other than that, the rest of the verbiage all stays the same. So that's my motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Perush, supported by Commissioner Dubuck.
I need to correct that typo too.
Commissioner Perush.
A time should be an item.
Excuse me?
A time should read an item.
Yeah, there's a spelling error.
Yes, there is a spelling error.
Well, it's not really, time is spelled correctly, but I think it was meant to be, I think it was meant to be typed item.
Yes.
Same letters, different order.
Oh, okay.
It happens.
Anyway, we got a second? Okay, I can explain. I've noticed over the last couple of years that and I'm not going to name specific commission names or specific issues where we've had an occasion where a couple of commissioners, perhaps over a beer, have said, oh, let's put this on the agenda and let's talk about this, and they do. And they don't have any specific, procedure, emotion, plan of action. They just kind of want to talk about a topic. And, sometimes the discussions go on for 45 minutes or so, and sometimes it results in moving towards some other kind of action, and other times it doesn't. So I really think that in order to actually add an additional item to the agenda, you have to build some collaboration. You've got to demonstrate that you've got a collaborative plan to move this forward. And I think by making a requirement that it be 3 commissioners instead of just 2 would move us in the right direction to do that. And the written request, we all use email, and that's all public, and so I think that's the best way to go. We can certainly use email. But I really think in order to build collaboration that we need to change this from 2 city commissioners to 3. If we were to eliminate this relatively liberal rule altogether and just go back to Robert's Rules of Order exclusively, Robert's Rules requires an actual majority vote to change the agenda, and I don't think that's appropriate whatsoever. But I do think that in order to move this to a more collaborative process, and actually move us forward, I think the requirement should be 3 city commission members as opposed to just 2. And that's my suggested change. So my motion encompasses that change in the rules.
Commissioner Dubuck?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that recommendation. I think Commissioner Prush summed that up, that we have, I think, gone down some rabbit holes just because something seemed like a good idea to talk about, but there was never really any thought about, well, what action would we actually take on this item? So I think if you get 3 folks together, there's more likelihood that there's actually an action that's going to be supported. I would make sure, does the motion include correction of that typo, changing a time to an item?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And to clarify, the procedure under Robert's Rules still stands where if someone wants to bring something to the table on a day of a meeting, they can move to amend the agenda to add something to the agenda with a majority vote. Correct? Okay, thanks.
Okay. Further discussion? Commissioner Lavasser.
There's no question there's a perceived 5-2 split on this commission, and this motion seems to be geared towards silencing the 2 who represent a very significant portion of the community. Rather than try to shut out people in this community who've elected people to speak on their behalf, bring things before this body on their behalf, we should keep it at the 2, which my understanding it's been 2 for quite some time. There's other concerns as well, besides making sure that we're keeping this body open to input from various segments of our community. There's also concerns with the Open Meetings Act. Granted, my understanding of that is it disallows any 4 in this body together discussing matters. But you're inching ever so closely when you're starting to say now you need to have 3 votes, 3 people, before you can even put a matter on the agenda. I don't believe that's the direction that this body should be starting off doing. We should keep it to 2, make sure that we are allowing the voices within this community to speak through their commissioners and to bring matters before this commission for consideration.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Prush?
That's not my intent. You can speculate, theorize, conspiracy theory, we're going to silence people. That's not my intent. I'm basing my recommendation on past practice that has gone over the last 2 years. You've got a voice at the table. You can speak on any issue. You can bring up issues at any time. You can request that the agenda be changed when we actually come up to an actual meeting. There's a motion to approve the agenda at every single meeting. So you don't have any you have many opportunities in order to bring issues before the public and the rest of this commission. I'm just thinking that in order to build some kind of collaborative process, in order to move issues forward, I really think that moving away from the 2 city commissioners over a beer is really the right way to go, and that's why I'm doing the recommendation that we change it to 3.
Commissioner Macy.
So I wonder at first if this is a needed thing now that Commissioner Dubak's drinking buddy is not on the commission anymore. But I agree that we don't want to be silencing any voices that are brought to this commission to represent the community. I don't feel like that's the intention, but also I think that's a misunderstanding of how legislation happens. Just like on Capitol Hill, it's not all at the table. A lot of it happens behind closed doors beforehand, finding out if you have the votes. And as we've seen, sometimes the minority party doesn't have the votes, but any good ideas should be brought forth. And I think the idea here is that we don't want good ideas to be drowned out by long discussions that aren't going to go anywhere. And if you can't get 3 people to agree to put something on the agenda on a Tuesday, how are you going to get 4 to vote for it on a Monday? So I want to say that if there's any 2 on this commission who have a great idea and want to bring it forward to the commission, please let me know, and I'll happy to add my name to the 3rd.
No? Okay. I'll just add, I think Commissioner Macy summed it up correctly. I don't see this as silencing any voices. I think what it does is magnify the voices of, the community's priorities. I can tell you, and again, I don't want to name names, we just said all great things about everybody that were up here and that, preceded us in the 48th Commission, but, I can tell you, there's a couple things that we're always in short order of, and that's time and money. And I think what I've seen in the past is when things get added to the agenda last minute, we have, and I'm guilty of this too, when I was a commissioner, I'll raise my hand, I was guilty of it. We put staff in a very awkward position to have to prepare a lot of information, even if it was for a discussion, and only to come up here and have no motion at all, only for the commissioners that made the proposal to say, oh, okay, I get it, no action necessary, or that a vote was called and it failed 6-1, 5-2. And that time is time that could have been spent, by our staff following the priorities that this commission dictates. So in no way are we silencing the voices of anyone by making this change. Be aware that every commissioner up here, with the support of one other, can make a motion to give direction to the staff to work on tasks, so long as they get 4 votes. They'll come back at a later date. We can take care of it here at the table. But I can tell you, I'm just as guilty as everybody else. I think Pat might have been looking at me a little bit over here. Call it the Fournier rule, because I was just as guilty adding things to the agenda, and it really distracted the city staff's time. We only have 1 city attorney. We only have 1 city manager. We only have 1 finance director. We have 1 police chief, 1 fire chief. And I think this will keep us organized. I think it will make us more thoughtful. And I don't think that there won't be any idea that isn't going to be heard by this commission. I think more ideas are going to be heard by this commission because it's going to be structured and more organized. And like I said, the default, I think it was former Commissioner Donegan said, see what other communities do. I, of course, have been around for a while now, and I've talked to a lot of our neighbors and people in the state of Michigan, and a lot of them abide by the strict Roberts rules, which nothing gets on the agenda. So I agree with Commissioner Perush. This seems like a good mix, right? Where, if there is an urgent need and it looks like there's a likelihood of, a potential positive outcome for the discussion, then it gets on the agenda. If not, then, we can go down a really quick slippery slope like we've gone down in the past. And so I'll be supporting the motion because I think it's going to help us be a much more productive and focused body, which is, with all the great things we have going on in Royal Oak right now, we're certainly going to need that focus. So, any other discussion? Commissioner Gibbs?
I do have a concern. Not all of us go out and drink beer, and it's been suggested more than once at this table and with the galley that this is something that happens after having a couple of beers. Not all of us do that. It's a concern, and as Mr. Levasseur said, it seems to be silencing the minority a little bit.
Commissioner Dubak?
With regard to that, whether or not one drinks beer, I think it's not relevant. I think the point is that each of us should be developing relationships with fellow commissioners. You should be meeting with for coffee from time to time and exchanging ideas and saying, I think that this is an issue that needs to be raised, as opposed to springing it on staff the last minute, getting a little bit of background done, getting a little bit of support done. That's not an end around because, again, you're talking about 3 people saying, I'm interested in discussing that. The Open Meetings Act forbids you from deliberating on an issue. Deliberation is not saying, I think this is an issue that should be discussed at the table. And when we do that, it's done via email to staff saying, I would like, with support of 2 other commissioners, to add this item to the agenda for the next meeting. And another email comes in, another email comes in. So that is not deliberation on an issue. That is recommendation for an issue to be added to the agenda for deliberation. And again, forming personal relationships with other commissioners at the table is a good thing. It's good for all of us.
Commissioner Lavasser.
Perhaps our city manager or our city clerk could provide us some information. I'm wondering, how long has it been the custom here in Royal Oak for 2 commissioners to be able to put matters onto the agenda?
I might have to do some research on that, but I can get back with you.
Well, except for we're being asked to decide this now. How long have you been the clerk here in Royal Oak?
8 years.
And during those 8 years, has it always been the custom to do 2 persons rather than 3 persons or some other number?
I'm doing a search right now, so. Thinking it was sometime in 2011, but I don't have the exact date.
Okay. All right. Mr. Johnson, but would you have any recollection or any knowledge in that respect?
I actually think it was a little bit earlier than that. I think it was probably around 2008 or 9.
All right. So fair to say that the custom of 2 commissioners having the ability to put matters on the agenda has been the custom here in Royal Oak for quite some time. If we're going back to 2008 or before.
Well, it's apparently been there at least till around 2008, 2009, yes.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Johnson, prior to that, if I recall, it used to be just 1 commissioner?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, we try things, goes from 1. We have issues, we go to 2. We've had issues, and now we're going to 3, and maybe that will solve it. So that's the way I see it.
I do want to follow up.
Further discussion?
I do want to follow up again with Mr. Johnson and Ms. Hollis. And forgive me, Ms. Hollis, am I pronouncing the name correctly?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have any recollection of it ever being 3, or has it always been 2 or 1 to your recollections?
The Rules Committee discussed this back in April of 2011.
Commissioner Perush?
When I was here in a past life, we went by Robert's rules, and it had to be a majority vote at the table. You couldn't just email the city manager or the city clerk and ask to have an item added. So it's been shifting over time. There hasn't been a constant rule that has lasted forever. It's changed.
Any more discussion? So we have a motion on the table. We have a motion on the table, and the motion is, remind us again, Commissioner Perush, it's to accept the
adoption of the rules of procedure with the change in item number 3 of the first attachment, as discussed.
Just for a point of clarification, are we voting on a motion to amend and then voting on the rule, or what procedure are we doing?
The motion on the table is to adopt the rules with the change that Commissioner Perush has articulated.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the motion passes. This brings us to item number C, which is the appointment of Mayor Pro Tem. I will. Okay, I mean, Mr. Johnson, you can kick this off, I guess. It's routine for this point in our commission meeting schedule.
We have a resolution, but it's a fill-in-the-blank resolution to name one of the members of this body to serve as Mayor Pro Tem. You need to choose who that should be, fill in the blank, and make the motion.
So we'll accept a motion to nominate someone in a second. Commissioner Perush?
I'll move the resolution to appoint Commissioner Charlene Douglas as Mayor Pro Tem based on seniority.
Do we have support for that motion? Supported by Commissioner Macy. Okay, discussion, Commissioner Perush?
Nope.
No discussion, Commissioner Macy? Any other discussion? Commissioner Dubak?
Commissioner Douglas is doing a fine job serving as Mayor Pro Tem for the last 2 years, and I think she'll do a fine job going forward.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Yeah, I'll just add, she's done an amazing job. She's represented the city really well. She does a bang-up job on planning. She saved me on a couple of occasions where I've had issues with my calendar, let's say. Hey, Shar, I can't be there in 30 minutes. You can be there in 4 minutes. Will you help me out? She's a great face to the city, and I'm going to be supporting this nomination wholeheartedly. She's got a lot of experience and a lot of respect in the community, and I'll be privileged to serve alongside you. So, okay, with that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, Mayor Pro Tem Douglas. All right, this brings us to item number D, the approval of performance bond.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Royal Oak City Charter, Chapter 3, Sections 42, 43, and 44 specify that the commission may require any officer or employee to give a bond for faithful performance prior to taking office, and that such bond shall be approved by the Royal Oak City Commission and filed with the Royal Oak City Clerk. I would imagine that at one time, this actually meant that the individuals actually had to go out and get a bond themselves, but that's no longer the case. Under the city's insurance coverage with the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority, all officers and employees of the city are covered under a faithful performance bond in the amount of $1 million. So what we're doing is just passing a resolution to accept that bond as meeting this requirement.
Any questions from Mr. Johnson? Any motions? Commissioner Perush?
I will move approval of this motion.
Motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Douglas. Discussion? With none, pretty straightforward. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Sorry, my computer is running a little slow. I'll kick it off with the paper document. This brings us to item number 13, the mayoral appointments to the Planning Commission and Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. For those who are new to the commission, it's important that we have the way the Planning Commission and Brownfield Authority are set up. They're really the same people that, two different commissions all within the same entity, if that makes sense. So it's one person from the commission. The mayor, I do sit on both of those by the ordinance. For this particular resolution, I have Commissioner Charlene Douglas appointed to the Planning Commission in this resolution, and I think she's absolutely the right fit. I think she was I know she was the president of the Michigan Planning Association, and I can tell you, serving with her on the Planning Commission, she has done an excellent job, and has really, you know, gone above and beyond to make sure that this community is, you know, moving in the right direction as it relates to site plans and vision. And certainly her work and forecast work on the master plan is going to be critical to the success of this city. So that's why I appointed her. I know there's some questions out there, and so I'll open it up for discussion. Commissioner Lavasser.
My comments and questions will also be pertinent to item number 14 on the agenda. My understanding is that Commissioner Douglas has served on the Planning Commission for the last 2 years. I also understand that there is an appointment ordinance, and I would ask Mr. Gillum to weigh in on what that ordinance says with regard to reappointment of persons who previously served on the committees.
Commissioners, probably the easiest way for me to to weigh in is to read the language in the ordinance, and specifically it's chapter 12 of the city code, section 12.5, subsection C, which indicates that city commission representation on standing boards and committees shall, if possible, be rotated at the start of each new term of the city commission. Representation must rotate after 2 terms of the city commission.
Okay. So, Mr. Gillum, I note a couple words, and you know, the first word is shall that I note, shall rotate. Then the next portion is if possible. Are there circumstances that are defined in the ordinance that would define when something is impossible?
No, there are no specific standards that are contained in the ordinance, no.
Thank you.
And I have a question for Mr. Gillum as well. I know, speaking and looking at Commissioner Douglas's history, I think technically she served 1.5 terms. How does the definition of term work as it relates to the ordinance? Or 1.5 years, right?
No, 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
No, wait. What's it? 3 years.
3 years.
3.
1.5 terms.
Right.
Well, the ordinance only refers to rotation at the start of each new term of the city commission. So, the term would be, I think, the 2 years.
Okay.
The 2 year, it would correspond or correlate to the 2-year term of the city commission. So in this case, in the 49th city commission.
Okay.
Well, the question that Mr. Johnson has raised is whether or not this, the ordinance applies because because this is, as to whether or not this is a mayoral appointment or a commission appointment. Check one thing real quickly. Okay, I'm referring to MCL 125-3815, sub 1, any municipality, the chief elected official shall appoint members of the planning commission subject to approval by a majority vote of the members of the legislative body elected and serving. So given the language of the Planning Enabling Act, This would be the mayor's appointment as the chief elected official, subject to the approval by a majority of the city commission.
Not subject to this ordinance.
I think the state law would supersede the language in chapter 12 of the code. That's correct.
Specific to the state code related to planning commissions.
There's specific state legislation providing for the creation of the planning commission. That's correct.
Okay. All right, we're still in the pre-discussion gray area of Robert's rules this commission has employed for a while. Commissioner Lavasser.
Certainly, I would not want one of the first things that this new commission do after taking the oath to uphold the ordinances of the city of Royal Oak is to violate the ordinances of the city of Royal Oak. I do believe that this warrants some additional research by Mr. Gillum. It's certainly very hard on the fly here to come up with a determination whether or not state law would prevent us as a city from enacting an ordinance that puts some limitations on who may be appointed to the Planning Commission. That certainly appears to have been the intent with the appointment ordinance, and I do believe it appropriate that rather than make a decision tonight on this issue, that Mr. Gillum have the opportunity to review this a little bit further to determine whether there's a conflict there.
Commissioner Perush?
Again, in past lives as a city commissioner, there were frequently controversies over appointments by the mayor, especially in terms of the Plan Commission. And my recollection of the interpretation of the statute back in those days was that the mayor's authority was pretty absolute, and that the city commission really didn't have the authority, either by ordinance or by policy, to mess around with that. So unfortunately, we deal here again with a state statute that pretty much determines how we can act and the limitations as to what we can and cannot do. And I think the mayoral authority to appoint in this situation is pretty absolute, and there's not a whole lot we can do to alter that or to change that.
Okay. If I may follow up, Mr. Gillum, if I recall your reading of the statute, you referenced that it's a mayoral appointment subject to the approval of the legislative branch of the city. Is that correct?
Subject to a majority vote of the members of the legislative body. That's correct.
Thank you.
City commission, yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dubak?
Is there a motion on the table?
No, there isn't.
All right. Well, I'll move to approve with the input from the city attorney for the mayor's recommendations.
Motion by Commissioner Dubak. Is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Commissioner Perush. Discussion, Commissioner Dubak?
I think while there's some small possibility that we need to clarify, I think it's really a question of clarifying our ordinance to make sure that we are in compliance with state law, which we're often doing with our local ordinances, to make sure that everyone understands when the state's giving directive versus when the city can and should give directive. I think according to the city attorney's input, these appointments are appropriate, and so I'm willing to make this motion, but I do think that we need to do some cleaning up in that particular ordinance.
Thank you, Commissioner Dubak. Commissioner Macy?
I share Commissioner Lavasser's concerns that this was done fairly quickly at the table, and I'd like to see some more time looking into it, and I'm curious what would happen if we make appointments today, and then can we make them again 2 weeks from now if he comes back with a final answer?
Mr. Gillum? The consequence of appointing, given the ambiguity from the points of view of a couple different commissioners here, if we were to appoint Commissioner Douglas to the Planning Commission, and your opinion changed down the road at the next meeting after researching it further, would that just necessitate us to reappoint somebody different into that role the next meeting?
That would be an option. Perhaps the better course of business would be, Commissioner Douglas is currently on the Planning Commission. And again, under the State Act, In defining the membership in the appointment process, the act provides that a member shall hold office until his or her successor is appointed. So if there is no successor appointed until that time, Commissioner Douglas would continue to be on the Planning Commission. So without an appointment being made, she will continue to be on the Planning Commission until an appointment is made.
Okay. So, because my concern is that we have a planning commission in December, and at times we've struggled to get, a quorum, right? And if, that's the case, I don't want to have the lack of full city commission representation on the planning commission in December. There's important decisions that need to be made, especially if you're the petitioner, whether you want a sign variance or whether you want, a big building to come to Royal Oak. Those are all important to the people that are paying their monies, paying their lawyers, and scheduling time to come to the planning commission. So, my concern is that if we don't have a member there, then, that's going to be an issue for the December meeting. My other concern is that I do believe Commissioner Douglas is best qualified to be on the Planning Commission, giving her, exceptional experience. She's done an amazing job. And if state law, which it appears to be, according to the opinion of our city attorney, allows us to keep Commissioner Douglas there, either by staying this appointment or by appointing her, that would be my personal preference. I can tell you, just being up here for a number of years, we have a number of ordinances, charter points that are all not compliant with state law. We did take an oath, and we also took the oath to uphold state law. And the state put together a planning law for cities to employ in their wisdom. What year was that? 2008.
It was amended 2008.
Amended in 2008 to address issues that it thought were important at the time, and it gave the power to, the executive of the legislative body to make this appointment for the reasons that, they had at the time. And so, I think that it's, you can look at it from that perspective as well, and clearly we've seen that happen on a number of different occasions with various ordinances. So, we do have a motion on the table right now. But what we're saying also too is if there's a stay, then Commissioner Douglas can continue to serve at the December meeting as well.
That's correct, until a final decision is made on this appointment question, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Lavasser.
I do want to clarify, my understanding is that this body, the City Commission, meets on December 11th, and that the next scheduled meeting of the Plan Commission is not until after that date. So I do not believe that there is any pressing reason for us to make a decision tonight.
Commissioner Perush?
In terms of the timing, I believe that the Plan Commission meets later that week, the week of the 11th. The difficulty with Plan Commission agendas is that because it involves a huge volume of material, not only the site plans and ordinance recommendations and all kinds of other PUD agreements related to each individual item, not only the plans for the Plan Commission, but also the sign ordinance variances, which is a separate issue by the same body, and also the Brownfield Authority packet of materials, which can be extraordinarily voluminous. A lot of that goes out way ahead of time so that the Plan Commission has an opportunity to review it, to drive around, to see all of the sites, to ask questions, and to thoroughly get familiar with the material before they actually have a meeting. Plan Commission is kind of unique in that way. So I would hate to have an appointment made on a Monday, only to have the Plan Commission meet the next Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. To me, that would not be enough time in order to come up to speed on the agenda materials. So that's a timing issue that I think is something that we have to consider.
By the way, the Planning Commission meets the next day, Tuesday.
The next day.
Yeah, it's
Well,
a Tuesday meeting.
Then it's even less than 24 hours later.
Commissioner Dubuck, you had your hand.
I think Commissioner Perush covered that. My primary concern is making sure that we're meeting the needs of the Planning Commission. I agree that Commissioner Douglas is the most qualified to sit there. So if the motion on the table puts her there, or making no motion puts her there, I'm satisfied with either outcome.
Mr. Gillum, the way the commission, or the way the motion is on the table, at least at the moment right now, it is your understanding that it's not violating our city ordinance because we have state law that supersedes specific to the planning commission, that ordinance, and therefore, we would not be breaking our ordinance by appointing Commissioner Douglas to the planning commission at this time.
Based upon the quick work I've done at the table tonight, yes.
Okay. In worst case scenario, if you have second thoughts or, you know, it's researched differently, we come back on the 11th, and if a different opinion arises, then we can remedy the ordinance at that time, or remedy the appointment at that time.
The appointment could be reconsidered at that time, sure.
Okay.
Under Robert's rules, absolutely.
And the same issue we'll have, regardless, because you're referring to the state statute. If we do a stay, and it says if no one's been appointed, I mean, we're still tapping into state law no matter.
If
For
I
her to
understand
serve
right,
until
yes.
an appointment
Yeah,
replacement.
Yeah. I mean, I think Commissioner Dubuck probably phrased it the best. I mean, if the motion is approved that's on the table, then Commissioner Douglas would be able to attend the December Planning Commission meeting. If there is no action tonight, she'll continue based upon her prior appointment. She'll be able to attend the December Planning Commission meeting either way.
Right. But it's all, both of those options are based on the state statute. The interpretation of the state
Correct.
statute.
That's correct, yes.
Superseding our ordinance, which is more generic. Our ordinance doesn't specifically call out planning. It's just in more general.
That's also correct, yes. It's a general appointments ordinance.
So you have a specificity issue here as well. Commissioner Lavasser.
I would offer a friendly proposal or amendment that this motion be tabled until the December 11th meeting. And according to our council, that means that that the commissioner would be entitled to fill. We could actually put this off to the 18th if we were worried about making a change on the 11th, so that Commissioner Douglas could participate in the December 12th Planning Commission meeting with a decision made on the 18th. And that would allow Mr. Gillum opportunity to fully review the matter, to provide us the criteria under which the state law would preempt our local ordinance on this in this matter. So my proposed amendment would be that we table it until the 18th of December.
We have a motion, a motion for the amendment to the motion to postpone the appointment to the 18th of December. Is there support?
Yes, I support that.
Yeah,
Supported
and
by
just,
Commissioner Gibbs.
just to clarify, I'm not moving that we approve it as of December 18th. I'm proposing that we table it and discuss it further and make that decision on December 18th, just so there's absolutely no question.
That's how I understood it.
Discussion?
Discussion on the motion to table.
Discussion on the motion to table, yes. All right. With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed?
No.
No?
Can I see the noes? Okay, I voted aye. So we'll table it till the 18th. Okay, we have the mayoral city commission assignments. So this is also dealing with the same topic we discussed as it relates to our city ordinance. Let me pop this up here. So maybe what I'll do is I'll open it up to Mr. Gillum at this time, because we know what the question's going to be, and we'll see if Mr. Gillum has a position as it relates to the non-planning commission appointment. Appointments, plural.
Well, again, referring back to the, to the language that's in section 12.125C of the appointments ordinance, and I think generally speaking, the appointments ordinance would apply to the appointments that we're talking about here. Again, the appointments shall, per the ordinance, if possible, be rotated at the start of each new term of the city commission. But they're required to rotate after 2 terms at the very longest. So what that would mean is that for any of the appointments where a sitting commissioner had been on the same committee for the prior term of the city commission, if possible, it should be a different city commissioner that would be appointed to sit on that commission for the term of this commission.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sort of. Seems like a very complicated rule. Okay. So I'll just say Mr. Levasseur and I had a conversation, Commissioner Levasseur and I, you guys got to forgive me. New commissioners, it's going to take me a
We're new to the
few
table.
weeks here to
No
get
concerns.
acclimated. Sometimes I forget Commissioner Dubuck's name. You know, that beard throws me off all the time. So I did have a conversation over a beverage of choice on Saturday evening with Mr. Levasseur. And I do appreciate the fact that he brought up this topic. And he did put together an email on Sunday afternoon. And so I can tell you it's, you know, at least since I can remember, and I'm sure Commissioner Perush can give the historical context. I know there was, you know, my predecessors, you know, made appointments based on, not based solely on this criteria, and the commission, you know, for whatever reason, historically has always, you know, approved the mayoral appointments. And so Commissioner Levasseur brings up a point that has been verified by, or at least, you know, some of this gray area in the appointments language in our ordinances has been also identified by Mr. Gillum. And so what I did since Sunday and today is I've made some adjustments to those mayoral appointments. And I have the list here. Ms. Hallis, do we have a list? Did we put it online? I don't know how many copies. This was also being worked today as well.
No, because it was just changed today, so it was
Okay.
not posted.
Okay. So,
Mine's the other one.
But the one on the screen is the current.
is the one on the screen the current one? Was it posted?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was quick. So we have a couple different options. The first option is the original appointments that we had, you know, that I had been discussing with everybody, all the commissioners up here as of Tuesday, Wednesday of last week prior to the Thanksgiving holiday. And based on the concern that Commissioner Levasseur has brought up, we made some changes where those instances could occur where somebody, you know, may have been appointed 2 terms in a row or beyond 2 terms.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a couple different options in front of us for the commission to consider. So obviously we have the previous ones with the interpretation of our ordinance, and then we have a second set of options here that if there is any gray area in the ordinance, it, you know, certainly circumvents any of that gray area on the second sheet. So I'll open it up for discussion. It looks like on the digital version that we have, it's been updated because it says November 27th, 2017. And when I look at it, one change, the rules of governance. We actually need 3 members there. This committee does not meet that often. And when Mr. Ellison left for the State House, his name kind of fell off when we were looking at the membership list to pull this together. And then we researched it and remembered that it takes 3 people to be on this particular committee. So I put myself on that one. Since Mayor Ellison was on there before, I just put the mayor, myself, back on that one. So there you go. A long explanation why we have 2 lists. Commissioner Perush.
I'm going to make 2 motions, but my first motion is to approve this list that's in front of us tonight that's on the screen, which is the revised list.
Okay, the revised list. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Perush.
Support?
Supported by Commissioner Douglas.
Mayor on the Rules Committee.
With the mayor on the Rules Committee.
The mayor
I'm
on the
sorry.
Rules Committee. Discussion? Commissioner Perush?
No, the list is, okay.
Commissioner Lavasser?
Yeah, I'm just doing, and I'm just seeing this for the first time right now, and just comparing the changes with my notes, and it looks like all of the violations of the ordinances, as I saw them, have been corrected with potentially one potential issue, and that's with the Audit Review Committee, where the mayor and myself are the, recommended as the member as well as the alternate, and the question is whether that would be a conflict with the appointment ordinance, that the mayor continue on in that role.
Well, again, to quote the ordinance, if possible, it should be a different appointment.
Yeah.
With the new term.
I can't support, but if Commissioner Lavasser wants to make a swap on that one, where I'm the alternate, and he serves on the audit review, I would support that amendment to the motion.
I would so move.
Okay, that's moved by Commissioner Lavasser, supported by Commissioner Gibbs. So he is correct, I believe, if we subscribe to the logic of the ordinance. So that would mean that we'd get rid of the A and put it behind my name, if everyone's okay as an alternate, because that's not a direct appointment. I'll be there anyways, so you won't be left shorthanded or without experience at that audit review committee on Thursday after the tree lighting. So we have an amendment to swap those two names to the motion. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote.
So this is a motion to,
A motion to accept, not accept, but to amend Commissioner Perush's motion to amend it that I no longer am the audit review committee member, rather I'm the alternate, and Commissioner Lavasser is the, Lavasser, sorry, it's the EUR, the French training that I wish I had more of.
I'll answer to either.
And make him the appointed versus the alternate. And that's what we're voting on. And then we'll vote on the motion of the appointments if this amendment goes through. So I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, the amendment passes. So now we have a motion on the table that takes the list that's on our screen with the addition of the mayor for the rules of governance and a edited version for audit review where I am the alternate now, the mayor, and Commissioner Lavasser will sit on that committee. Any discussion? Okay, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, the motion passes.
I have another motion.
Okay, Commissioner Perush.
After the lengthy discussion that we had about the two-term rule a few minutes ago concerning the mayoral appointment to the Plan Commission, it's my understanding that apparently this list was was switched around because the same issue applied to these appointments. So I went back and looked at the ordinance, not only the ordinance for appointments of commissioners to various committees, but also the appointments of non-commissioners, members of the public to various committees. And there's real inconsistencies between the appointment processes and the standards between those two. For example, when it pertains to appointments by this body of commissioners to committees, it says, you're limited to just your 2 terms, that's it. And then you have to rotate. There's no exception, there's no extenuating circumstances to change that rule. It's very hard, it's very black and white. On the other hand, when you're dealing with appointments of individuals, non-commissioners to these committees, I believe it's 3 terms, and there is some exception language. Given if there is an exception where there just is no one else available, or other, I believe that the term is special circumstances, you can make an exception to the rule. And we certainly, and I think in a couple of instances in the past, have made exceptions to the rule because of the circumstances. And I can give you one example right here, and it involves a board that I, up until now, served on, and that's the Retirement Healthcare Investment Board and the Retirement Board for the Pension System. That is a board of 5 members, 2 commissioners, a member from two bargaining units, two separate individuals from two separate bargaining units, and the city manager. That's by ordinance how that board is set up. It is an extraordinarily complicated set of issues to deal with. You are not only making decisions on the retirement benefits for every employee who submits an application to retire. Those are the easy issues because what is given to each retiree is established by not only ordinance, but also by, more than anything else, by the employee contract. We can't tinker with that. There's no policy decision to be made in that. But the bigger job of both boards is to manage the pool of money that is in the investment fund, not only for the pensions, but also for the health care. And it's hundreds of millions of dollars. It is extraordinarily complicated to understand and to be able to make intelligent decisions in that. It is so complicated that the State Board of Retirement Trustees has training sessions for and classes for individual trustees of these boards, and it stretches over a 2-year period. It's offered at their statewide conferences, which are 3 times a year, and it's a series of 6 classes. So you don't get the benefit of all of the understanding that you need until you have actually completed the 2-year scheme of classes. I'm halfway through it, at least I was, and now I'm not on the retirement board. So it just seems to me that the ordinance that we've all been discussing, this very hard and fast 2 years and you're out, or 2 terms and you're out, needs to be modified in order to allow for exceptions like this or any other board where there are special circumstances where you think it's appropriate for someone to stay on a board because of specialized knowledge, or in my case, specialized training that the city paid for that now is useless because I'm not on the board anymore. That kind of inconsistency between the 2 ordinances, the way we handle commissioners and the way we handle members of the public of the boards, I think needs to be resolved. So what I'm going to move is that language in the existing ordinance that regulates the 2 terms of city commissioners on boards and commissions, which I believe is section 12.5, section C, be eliminated, that the ordinance be amended to eliminate that section. We amend the ordinance on 2 readings. This is not finalized tonight, but that's my motion, that we start the amendment process by amending the ordinance to remove that language because it's inconsistent with another ordinance that we have, and it really doesn't allow for the types of special circumstances that I think is appropriate in a couple of instances. So that's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Perush, supported by Commissioner Dubuck. I'm not sure you have any more discussion, Commissioner Perush.
No, I'm done.
Okay. Commissioner Dubuck?
Yeah, just briefly, I'd say I agree this needs to be updated. I think this is not great public policy, I think, particularly in a case where we have commissioners who are particularly well-suited to serve on a committee and develop even more issue expertise in that committee and develop relationships with the network of people who work within that body of work around that committee, to arbitrarily boot people to replace them with someone who now has to learn from the very beginning the goals of that committee and the work of that committee. I don't think that we're actually serving the purpose that we intend, particularly now as we are in enforcing the 3-term limits more, but still with consideration for institutional knowledge from some of the people that have been on these committees for a long time. But as we do that, the commission as a body serves as the institutional memory for those committees. So to have the committee arbitrarily every 2 years have to juggle around to different committees, regardless of issue expertise, regardless of experience, regardless of the passions they brought to the table, I don't think is in the best interest of our residents. And we've had many discussions at the table over recent years about making sure that our committees are actually having impact and driving their intended purpose in the community. And I think this ordinance as it reads, and as we're enforcing it today, is working contrary to that. So, for example, I've served on environmental advisory now for 6 years, and it's a very, very active committee, and it's grown in its activism and its contribution to the community over the years, and it's a passion of mine. And to no longer be the commissioner helping to drive the work and support the work those folks are doing arbitrarily, it doesn't make any sense unless I'm being replaced by someone who is equally as passionate about driving environmental sustainability in the city of Royal Oak. And, given that that's maybe not the case,
Maybe not.
this seems like a bad decision being forced upon us by what's an outdated policy. That seems to me something that was enacted because everyone fights over planning. Everyone wants to have their turn on planning. But even then, as we see with Commissioner Douglas or Mayor Pro Tem Douglas, sometimes there's someone who's uniquely well-suited to be filling that seat on planning. And to have an ordinance arbitrarily saying, no, we have to disregard that experience and put someone else there, that doesn't make sense to me. So I guess my question is, I support the motion as long as it does allow us to take into consideration those issue expertise, the experience, and the time served and the contribution to those committees to make sure that we're actually getting the value and that the people who are volunteering their time on those committees feel that those committees are really contributing to the community and aren't just a place where a commissioner sits for an hour and waits for it to be over.
Commissioner
May I
Gibbs.
ask a question? You both spoke of the education and the training involved in these two committees. Is that education and training available to all 7 of us? And I'm only asking because if it's something that one of us may decide to get involved in. And I'm not sure exactly who I'm directing that question to.
I'll extend the privilege for the commissioners
But
to
I
answer the
believe that
question.
you, having had it, would be perfect to address it.
In terms of the training that is available to retirement board trustees, it's available to all trustees. So if you now are a new member of the retirement board of trustees, it's going to be available to you.
Okay.
The meetings are held in various locations around the state. There are thousands of retirement trustees that serve on boards throughout the communities in the state. Most of them are from townships, because there's far more townships than there are cities and villages in the community. So you have potentially thousands of trustees coming to these meetings on a 3 times a year basis. So they're held in locations that are large enough to accommodate that. It's usually Traverse City, Mount Pleasant, Grand Rapids, Detroit, and it kind of moves around. And the training is offered at each one of those conventions, but they only offer one of the 6 at each meeting. So in order to get the benefit of all of them, you have to hit all 6 meetings. I have not been able to attend all 6 in a row. But yeah, it's available to all trustees.
And I appreciate that, because how else would I have known? And so it's a weekend or an all-day Saturday kind of thing?
The conferences are Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Okay.
And so far, most of the training sessions are on either Sunday or Monday.
Okay.
Which makes it tricky with commission meetings sometimes, which is why I haven't been able to attend all of the conferences, because we've had commission meetings.
Right.
So.
Good point, thank you.
Commissioner Macy?
I wonder if Commissioner Perush could speak to, instead of eliminating that piece, bring it in line with what we do for the citizen committees, just in case some people want a chance on the Environmental Advisory Board for some new blood. So I think there's some reasonable reasons to have some term limits, and I absolutely understand that there should be an exception listed in there, and so I wonder if we could maybe have city staff look at the way to rewrite this ordinance that would be in line with what we already have and in keeping with the training that we're investing in some of our commissioners and allowing them to stay on in that role when they've had that training.
Commissioner Perush?
That's the ultimate goal, is to make them consistent and to give us some flexibility to make the kinds of exceptions to the hard and fast rule that we think are appropriate. I mean, everything has to come back before us for approval in terms of appointments anyway, but at least it gives us the option of making the exception, whereas the current rule doesn't, and that's why my motion is just to eliminate that part of the rule that just says, it's 2 years and you're out. Just so that we would have the opportunity to add to the ordinance the language that, in special circumstances, you can make an exception to this rule.
Yeah, and I'll weigh in on that answer as well. I think what I've seen up here, whether it be term limits or whether it be formulaic situations in our ordinances, they always cause issues. We're the elected body here. We are elected by the voters to make decisions and to, whatever the situation merits. If it's a mayoral appointment issue and we want to put one person in environmental advisory board over another, we all vote on it. ultimately, all of these appointments are confirmed by the city commission. And just like it was discussed earlier, those discussions can happen, we can get to know each other, we can talk about who wants to be on what. But I think, you know, in my opinion, the more parameters you put and the more formulas you put in these ordinances, one, the more issues you have, because you have to follow the ordinance to the T, and you can't, you know, execute the will of the voters so precisely based on every election outcome. And I think that, you know, you can do everything that has been discussed that you want to do. So if you want to change things up, nothing prevents the committee or commission from changing things up. I think, so I personally have issues with these types of things in any of our ordinances. I think they're usually, if we go back and we look at the historical context, they were created because somebody was, you know, there was an issue and they were trying to solve it and say, okay, well, let's put a formula in there and then everybody's happy. Well, no, it creates problems for future commissions because it wasn't our intent. Heck, I can tell you, it seems like we probably, the past precedent that we followed with great success on these committees based on keeping experienced commissioners in the committees they want to be in, that they're passionate in, probably for the last 20 years, has been to keep, if a commissioner wants to continue to be in a committee or if someone wants to change, we have those discussions, and it's been very, I can't speak to it because this is my first round of mayoral appointments here at this, as, in this capacity, but I think I agree with Commissioner Perush. We got to strike the formulas from our ordinances and leave a lot of the wisdom and judgment up to here, especially when you're dealing with appointments, because the last thing we want is somebody, a commissioner on a committee that either one, doesn't have the experience, two, is not passionate about the committee they're on, which leads to, and then you have another commissioner on another committee who isn't on it because they don't want to be on it, and they don't have the experience either. And now both of those committees become less effective for the work that they're going to do. And this ordinance doesn't provide us to execute our wisdom here to put people in the right spot to do the most good. And so I think the simple answer is, we strike this from the appointments ordinance and give this commission, this body, more flexibility in the future to put the right people in the right place at the right time. So that's my opinion on it. Commissioner Douglas.
So, Commissioner Perush, what are you proposing? Is it just to strike the representation must rotate after 2 terms of the city commission? And then substitute perhaps the language about other committee members in deciding whether or not to recommend the reappointment of someone whose term has expired. One of the considerations might be special expertise required by the Board of Commission, which can come either from outside experience in the field or from experience actually serving on the board or commission. Or do we want to be that specific, or are you just asking staff to put a recommendation together reflecting our discussion and your wishes?
Well, you could do it any number of ways. My motion was simply to strike the language, or to strike section 12.5C, subsection C, which essentially is the 2-term and you're out language, the 2-term and you're out section. Just take that whole subsection out. That was my original motion.
Commissioner Perush, was your motion to, since it's a strikeout, and I think we've done this before, where we approve it on first reading, and then what's your direction there as far as your motion is concerned, to be clear?
Well, I think that is first reading, but that of course means that it comes back. This is not a final thing. It comes back on second reading at a later commission meeting in order to be either amended or changed or voted down or up, whatever. So I'm trying to get the process started more than anything else.
So Mayor, does this become first reading, or do we submit it at a subsequent meeting and make that the first reading so that, the public sees it?
Well,
I think that's the commission's discretion.
Yeah. I'm thinking because it's strike-through language, if it's the will of the commission and it gets voted through, you know, do you need to go through the hassle of having, I think a second hearing is helpful because we would hear it again. But, you know, do you need to have a hearing on the elimination of language, a first hearing? If this is what the direction is and this is what the vote is, and if the vote is positive, just
Reading, not hearing.
just challenge the efficiency. What's that?
It's reading, not hearing.
Reading, I'm sorry. Got planning commission on my mind.
I guess I would be inclined to not make this the first reading. I mean, I think this is something that we want to make sure that the public knows we're talking about. And if we could, you know, if Commissioner Perush would agree that we submit this to the next agenda for its first reading, but with the option of approving it on first reading, but at least we would have put it on a public agenda and let people look at it for, you know, several days preceding the meeting.
I would have no objection to doing that.
Okay.
So, procedurally, I would make a motion that we table this issue to the meeting on December 11th.
Well, I don't know that, we have a motion on the table right now, and the motion is to strike the language for, to change the ordinance, to direct staff to change the ordinance, to strike the language and bring it back to us, right? And for first hearing, first
Yes.
reading on the next, at the next meeting.
That's the motion on the table.
That's the motion on the table. So at that next meeting, we would discuss the ordinance change. And if we approve it on first reading, then it would go, we'd get a second reading at the next commission meeting, right? Or can we approve it on first reading then? I'm just trying to figure out the cadence here of
Dave
the
Gillum is
steps.
waving a hand.
Can I weigh in on this? I mean, just the notes that I made based upon Commissioner Perush's comments, I was taking this as a motion to amend the ordinance by repealing section 12.5C on first reading tonight, which would mean that it would come back for second reading at a later meeting. Given Commissioner Douglas's comments, my suggestion would be, if Commissioners Perush and Dubuck were comfortable with that, to withdraw the motion that's on the table, to bring another motion to direct staff to prepare an amendment for the commission's review at the next meeting, which would repeal section 12.5C of the city code. And then I'll have a proposed ordinance amendment in ordinance form. It'll be part of the posted agenda for all of you to see, for the members of the public to see. And if the commission wants to act at that time, it would be on first reading. And then if the commission does approve the ordinance, the proposed amendment at that time, it could be brought back for second reading at the following meeting, which would be a week later in December.
Okay. So the public would have adequate time to review the changes, provide us input and comments. But tonight, in this particular case, we would give you, you'd understand what the direction would be if they withdraw their motion and then make another motion.
A motion to direct staff to bring back the ordinance amendment at the next scheduled meeting, yes.
Okay. Then I withdraw my original motion. Motion dies. And make a second motion to direct staff to bring back revised ordinance language at the next meeting concerning this topic.
Specifically, do you want them to strike the 12.5C?
Specifically, striking the hard and fast two-year rule, and also incorporate language similar to the citizen appointment committee section, which allows for exceptions for special circumstances.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Perush. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Douglas. Okay, discussion. Commissioner Douglas.
What does that do to our current list of prospective appointments? She said after throwing you know, something in the spokes of the wheel.
Nothing.
That's correct. It wouldn't change the current appointments.
We already voted on. Yeah, we already voted on it, and those are actually in accordance to the section that seems to be problematic in the appointment process, meaning that all of the appointments we made previously are compliant with the ordinance.
Okay.
As it's written today. And they would be compliant as it's written tomorrow as well. Or I say tomorrow figuratively, but, you know, if the changes are passed, then the appointments would still be compliant. Okay, further discussion? Commissioner Lavasser?
I do understand we're not truly deciding on changing the ordinance tonight. I do have some concerns that perhaps we're throwing out some benefit from the ordinance in getting some fresh perspectives on various committees that perhaps the intended or anticipated change would go just a little bit too far. Certainly there's some situations, as Commissioner Perush brought up, where there is very specialized expertise that may be pertinent, but as proposed here, as anticipated here, this change would eliminate a lot of the benefits that was contemplated when this ordinance was first enacted.
Commissioner Perush?
The only other thing that I would add is that if we do actually change the ordinance, I don't think it precludes us from revisiting the issue of individual appointments on various committees after Christmas, whenever the ordinance is finalized. And I really, I'm very concerned about specifically the retirement board. Not that Commissioner Gibbs and Commissioner Dubuck are not going to do a fantastic job and do their homework and stay up nights understanding, you know, the particulars of finance for retirement system investments. But it is an extraordinarily complicated topic. And you've got two newbies going in there on a 5-person board. I'm not an expert. I'm still learning. I still have 4 classes to go to, and you still do the homework in between, certainly. And this may be the only, those may be the only 2 boards where this issue is that much of a concern. But I'm genuinely concerned. So I guess what I'm suggesting is that perhaps after the ordinance is amended, assuming it is amended, it might be appropriate to revisit a couple or some of these appointments just to make sure that we are not losing the expertise that we have. That's it.
Okay. Further discussion? Yeah, I think whatever pros and cons we've discussed about the topic of appointments can be addressed with, you know, the proposed modifications that Commissioner Perush put in place. But I think we have to look at each board and each experience set of each commissioner and each passion of each commissioner and what they want to do and take it for what the needs are of each one of these committees at the time that we make the appointments. So I'll be supporting the motion, and I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
The motion passes. Okay, that brings us to item number 15, appointment to the Royal Oak Transit Task Force. And maybe I'll give a short prelude here. At our last city commission meeting, I have to give significant credit to Commissioner Donegan for her impassioned speech about transit in this community and the potential of what we can do as it relates to public transit, how it can solve a lot of the issues we have as a community related to senior transportation issues, as it relates to school transportation issues, as it relates to parking issues, so many things we identified. And I got to tell you, former Commissioner Donegan really bird dogged this one. It's a true passion of hers. And so the result of that meeting was to appoint members to a task force that would be potential users of transit, have a stake in transit, and help advise this commission on what the possibilities are, what the economics are, what the use case would be for public transportation in this community. Commissioner Douglas, or former Commissioner Donegan, Maybe I'm going to take the privilege here as mayor and ask that if you could say a few words about the appointments and about, kind of for the folks that are new here, remind them about what we covered and what we're hoping to achieve.
Thank you. So I'm already getting used to be on this side of the. As you already said, last meeting, we voted to actually appoint a task force. And so this really is a unique opportunity for us, the community, to work with SMART, who's our current transit provider, to offer a level of service to Royal Oak residents that we haven't seen since the privately owned Martin lines went out of business in the 1970s. You know, they went all over Royal Oak, and their actual bus place was where Superior Fish is now. But then they were in the 70s, they had lines all over the city in Hilton, Campbell, Lincoln, Forth, Troy, and Rochester. They were taken over by SEMTA, which serves Southeast Michigan, and they also served the city of Detroit. But all those lines were eliminated over time. SEMTA became SMART, and then SMART became the Suburban Regional Transit Service. Detroit, however, continues, as they do today, to operate local service within its borders. So the local transit task force is for a very specific purpose, for a very limited amount of time, and it has an ambitious timeline. We'll have a crash course on public transportation, how it even works, how SMART works, how they serve the city of Royal Oak currently, how they could serve the city of Royal Oak, and what their plans are for the future. We'll examine and analyze the proposed local service, including route options, operation, connections, the three factors that make transit successful, which is frequency, span, and coverage, and most importantly for everybody, most importantly for you and for the community, what it will cost. We'll conduct public outreach in January and February. Obviously, we know the bar is very high after the Normandy Oaks task force meeting, so we'll do something like that, including online surveys and those kinds of things. Plus, we'll have additional meetings with stakeholder groups like the ones you've already identified. And then the task force will take what we learned from the community and from the expertise of SMART, of transit providers, and with SEMCOG, who is our regional planning agency that's very eager to work with us and help us learn what we need to learn to make this important decision, put together a recommendation and bring it back to the City Commission in March, and then it will be up to you to decide what to do with it. Do you go ahead? Do you not go ahead? So in addition to the members that are listed on the commission letter, that we will have a lot of non-voting task force members of stakeholders and advisors, including the Boys and Girls Club. They want to have a staff member, a staff person, and a member from their key club. I think they're looking forward to being a member of this team. Beaumont Hospital, clearly, the Royal Oak Chamber of Commerce has the restaurant and the Retailers Association. The Royal Oak Senior Center, of course, we want seniors who actually use the transit service we already have, the people who provide the service, and seniors who don't currently use the transit system that we currently have for a variety of reasons. We want the Detroit Zoo to be at the table because they have a real need for people to get to the zoo in something other than a single-family car. And I think our police department would be happy if they weren't blocking the expressway on Saturdays in zoo season. We also have the Downtown Development Authority. Clearly, the Royal Oak schools have a lot of parents who really want public transportation. There is a role for public transportation in public schools, but it's very specialized and something that we need to study in great depth. I'll be meeting with the superintendent next week to make sure that they have the right people on board. And I also want to bring in some faith leaders in this region because they work with a lot of people in the community. So of course the meetings will be open to the public. They'll be, they'll have to adhere by the Open Meetings Act. We hope to meet in the library room, and we hope to be able to videotape these meetings so that people can really get an idea of what we're talking about. And I think that's it, but thank you for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I hope you all will attend the meetings, because the more people that understand what we're talking about and have a shared knowledge, the better off we will all be and the better decisions we as a community can make.
Thank you, Ms. Donegan. Do we have any questions for Ms. Donegan? Okay, I think you articulated it very well. Thank you. And thank you for stepping up to the plate to chair this as a involved citizen, and I can tell you personally, I can't think of a better person well-suited in this region to chair a transit task force and
And I
committee.
should say to our new commissioners, I'm happy to sit down with either one of you or any of you at any time for over a cup of coffee to fill you in on the details.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we have a few resolutions here. We have a resolution here in front of us as it relates to the appointments of the Transit Task Force. Commissioner Dubak?
I'll move the resolutions contained in the letter.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Douglas, supported by, too many Ds up here. Commissioner Dubak, supported by Commissioner Perush. Discussion, Commissioner Dubak.
Yeah, I think we covered it really well last week, and we just gave a great summary of it just now, that this is a really innovative, cutting-edge idea for us to be considering as a city. And there's a good group of folks that we have being appointed. Obviously, former Commissioner Donegan is the right person to chair this task force and really drive the work home. But as she said, hopefully we'll get a lot of public input and participation. Hopefully more folks from this table, other than those just assigned to the committee, will attend some of the meetings as well and really help develop some recommendations that we can consider for the city.
Commissioner Lavasser.
This is a undertaking that if we move forward and do this, there's absolutely no question in my mind it's going to involve a significant expense to the citizens of the city of Royal Oak. And that said, I believe that there should be as much public input as possible. I don't believe that there's any legal requirement that we open this up to the natural appointment process, the ordinance. But I do believe it would be prudent for us to do so. There could be a number of people in this community that perhaps have a different perspective on how to approach transit in our community. Those folks ought to have an opportunity to apply to participate on this task force. I would move that the clerk accept applications through the end of this year from members of the public to participate on the task force, and that those applications be referred to the appointments committee.
There's a motion on the table.
Is that there's a motion on the table. Are you making a motion to amend the motion?
That will be a motion to amend. I would keep Commissioner Douglas as the commission appointee to that committee, but I would, as the balance of that committee, I would suggest that it go through the appointments committee as stated.
Mr. Gillum, is there a distinction between an amendment and that seems to be a different motion in itself? Do we have to be careful about how we distinguish? So the amendment is basically saying we don't move forward with the motion that's on the table. I mean, in a way, that we would open this up and,
Vote on the amendment.
So it's not I don't know if it's an amendment. Help me out here. Or do we vote on it and then if there's another motion? I mean, an amendment to me would be like the one we had earlier. It went from 7-year to 2-year. Is Commissioner Lavasser's motion an amendment, or is it just, will it be captured with the vote of the motion that's on the table? Or to be safe?
The microphone will pick it up.
Well, in looking at the language of the motion, and as I understand Commissioner Lavasser's proposed amendment, he's not saying the composition would change. He's just indicating rather than approving the specific appointments, but the issue of the specific appointments be opened up to application and subsequent appointment by the city commission? Am I characterizing that right?
How about if I revise my motion in this respect? What if we were to accept these people, but we add 3 additional people through the application process that's vetted by the appointments committee?
Yeah, that seems more like an amendment.
That would clearly be a motion to amend. I'd agree with that, yeah.
Then that is my motion.
Is there support?
I support that.
Supported by Commissioner Gibbs. Discussion? Commissioner Lavasser, since you made the motion, I'll give you first shot at the discussion.
I think I stated my concerns already. We do want more input from the community. This will be, if this goes through, very significant expenditure for this community. And we certainly want to have as much input from the community as possible and certainly open it up to different perspectives on how to approach this.
Commissioner Dubak? So any potential expenditure would be subject to a vote of the people. Therefore, literally every single resident in the city of Royal Oak would have a say in that. As far as the work of this committee in determining how to put together a transit plan for consideration of this body that would then be considered by this body before any expenditure could be attached to it, there would still be significant input for opportunity for public input. I think what you have here is a recommendation of a body of people that are across demographic and zip code and have expertise that they're bringing to the table and can get this work done. I think growing that body and also delaying the beginning of that work of that body several months doesn't really contribute to the work of the mission that we're trying to accomplish here. So I stand by my original motion. I'll be voting no on the amendment.
I've had a significant...
Any other discussion?
Sorry, I've had a significant number of seniors specifically raise this issue to me. So I would support Mr. Levasseur, or Commissioner Levasseurs. I'm not used to it yet either.
Commissioner Dubak. Just a response. There are several seniors appointed in this list.
Commissioner Macy?
I'm curious to hear what Ms. Donegan has to say about making the body 9 instead of 6. She seems eager for more bodies as it is.
I'll call former Commissioner Donegan back up to the podium if she's so willing to answer Commissioner Macy's question.
I don't have any problem having 9 people on the commission, I should say, and maybe I didn't say in my remarks, but the opportunity or the task force will be meeting soon. First meeting is like a week from Wednesday, because the opportunity to get this done is very short. And very intense. And so it really will happen in December. There'll be 2 meetings in December that are very lengthy. They'll be meeting and then January is all public outreach. And then February, they bring the task force will bring back to the body what it is they've learned from the public outreach, which will be we'll have public meetings, plus we'll also go out and meet with stakeholders groups like Kiwanis clubs, Optimus clubs, every club we can find, every group we can find, interclub council. We'll go to churches, we'll have, my church will be hosting a meeting of other churches so we can get all kinds of people in there. So then we'll bring back what they learned from all of the people that we've met with, hopefully hundreds, if not thousands, if we can find them, and then put together a recommendation for the City Commission in March. So it's a very short timeline, and the expertise that's listed in that commission letter, we have people from the north part, 3 different parts of Royal Oak, plus a restaurant owner, plus a lot of people who have access to a lot of resources. So it's I don't mind having 9 people, it's just a very short timeline.
Thank you, Commissioner Donegan. I mean, the only thing that I'll add is, what we find is that committees larger than 7 typically have problems with quorum. It's a challenge to get the work done. I think in this particular case, it's not even a question of input. I mean, quite frankly, the plan that Commissioner Donegan, or former Commissioner Donegan has laid out there, only encourages the most amount of public input that we could hope to achieve. If you go back to Normandy Oaks, I feel that was a very, very successful public engagement opportunity that we bestowed on this community. It was an experiment. We tried it. We had a small committee on the Normandy Oaks Task Force, similar to a average size or max size committee in some theories for the transit task force, and yet we had 400 or 500 people come out, participate, contribute their ideas. That was all matriculated through the task force, and we're having great results, and we're truly going to have a park that was designed by everybody in the community. And I don't see this task force being any different. It has a short-term purpose. You need a few people to run the plays, make some decisions, decide what players to invite, take that public input, organize the events, do things of this nature, and I'm highly confident we're going to follow a similar playbook like we did with Normandy Oaks, which was the feedback I've received from people has just been that was an amazing experience of getting public engagement. And so I don't know, moving from 7 to 9, I think the cons of it far outweigh any perceived benefits. I really do believe we don't and won't have an input issue here. as it relates to this transit task force. So that's my opinion. So we have an amendment. Commissioner Douglas.
Yeah, well, just bear in mind that, I mean, this is a public body, subject to the Open Meetings Act. There'll be public comment at every meeting. So there's, I mean, even outside of any formal engagement process that we will go through, I mean, there's plenty of opportunity for people to come and contribute during public comment.
We only have 7 members at this board, and we make a lot of important decisions up here. Commissioner Macy?
I was going to say the same at public comment.
Okay, so just to be clear, it's getting late. We have a motion on the table to amend the original motion to add 3 additional at-large members to the Transit Task Force to be selected by the Appointments Committee. Okay. So I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No.
No.
Okay, so the motion fails. Now we have a motion on the table. The original motion, which to reiterate, encompasses the proposed resolutions in the letter. Any further discussion on this motion? With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the motion passes. All right, Ms. Donegan, you got your work cut out for you.
Get to work.
That's right, don't get thrown under the bus. Dad jokes, dad jokes.
It's too late for that, much too late for that.
All right, this brings us to the last item on our agenda, related to the Royal Oak Holiday Spectacular Event, requests for permit approval. Should I open this up to the chief? Chief O'Donoghue.
Mayor, City Commission,
Thank you.
this is a little atypical request, and if I could just give you a little background. At the last meeting, last City Commission meeting, we approved a request from Ultimate Fun Productions to have a holiday event that was scheduled for this weekend in the CBD, and the DDA was a sponsor of that event. They'd been working with the DDA since the spring on that event. Ultimate Fun Productions decided, decided that this event couldn't happen. So they have a run planned for this Saturday. That event will still happen, but the event for this weekend isn't going to happen. We had a meeting of stakeholders last Wednesday to try to salvage something for the holidays. Ultimately, the special event you have before you, I think, is an attempt to have some sort of holiday event in the CBD this season. It's a much scaled down version from what was previously approved. It's a one-day event. The hours will it'll be on December 16th. Hours are from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. It'll involve just a short closure of Washington Street and 5th Street. Washington Street will only need to be closed about an hour before the event. 5th Street between Washington and Center will be closed all morning. The activities inside the footprint are similar to what was originally approved for this weekend. And I'm available if you have any questions for me.
Do you have any questions for the chief? Or how about an addition from City Manager Don Johnson?
Just one additional comment. The DDA in a special meeting this afternoon, a rather contentious special meeting this afternoon, did approve funding this event by a 7-2 vote. They approved a budget of up to $30,000 for it. Can't go forward without the commission approving the special event permit.
As is. Right? So there's no ability to make any modifications. It's either up or down vote on the proposal since the DDA made their vote and now it's coming to us for the permit approvals, correct?
I would say yes. Anything else would probably require that we have another meeting of the DDA.
Okay. And the timing constraints would be prohibitive to actually having an event. So, do we have any questions for Mr. Johnson or Chief O'Donoghue? Mr. Dubak.
Yeah, just that, as I understand it, this was the event the DDA had decided to run in place of the Holiday Magic Parade, correct?
Yes,
They
yeah,
essentially reallocated those resources to try and do a longer event that they thought would engage more families and folks into the festivities in the downtown.
yes.
Okay. So it fell through. I mean, what they had planned on fell through. I'm just wondering, are there any learnings that we've taken away to ensure that I know it wasn't on our end. Just curious about what's your insight, Chief, as far as making sure we get it right next time. Do we need to go back to the parade next time? Do we need more prep for next time?
Well, I think the challenge is Ultimate Fund Productions requested a special event. So it was their event and the DDA was sponsoring it, if that makes sense. So Ultimate Fund Productions it was up to them if they want to have the event or not. I think there was a belief in because they've been working with them for so long that this belief that this event would happen, that was supposed to happen this weekend. Originally, we were penciling in December 9th to hold this event, to read our second event, but there's a pub crawl that day, and it was something that we decided that wasn't a good mix. It's a challenge. I don't know that unless we want to get our own production company or promoting company, it'd be difficult moving forward. You're kind of at the mercy of the people who are planning the event for you.
Commissioner Perush.
So just to be clear, our options tonight are either to accept this as it is, which is a much scaled down event on the 16th of December from 4 to 10, or nothing.
Correct.
Okay. And the DDA has already approved this specific proposal that's in front of us, which is for the really scaled down event.
Yes.
A part of one day on December 16th.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And there's still no parade?
There is no parade.
Okay.
There will be a run on Saturday, the Bunny Hop Run, and I'm sorry, the Santa Hat Hustle will still run.
Wrong season.
Wrong season.
Wrong holiday.
You know, I'm going to make a motion to approve this amended plan, and then I'll explain why.
Motion by Commissioner Douglas. Is there support? Supported by Commissioner Lavasser.
The DDA is an independent body. I mean, we have to, and clearly they spent considerable time discussing it. I'm sure they weighed the pros and cons seriously, and I'm just sort of not disinclined to second guess them on this. I'm a little concerned. I mean, they have less than 3 weeks to market this. I work in marketing. Even with the communications resources that Ultimate Fund has at their disposal, I'm just concerned about attendance, but at the end of the day, I'm not inclined to second guess the DDA on this. And there's little downside to us. In fact, there's less downside to us really as a city in terms of the time and expense of closing streets and monitoring those things and setting up barricades and so forth. So that's why I recommend supporting this endeavor.
Commissioner Lavasser.
I'll reiterate what Mayor Pro Tem Douglas just said. I attended the special DDA meeting today. It was quite obvious that the DDA was very disappointed with how this transpired. Basically, the DDA was let down by a promoter that made promises and then didn't follow through. So they were left to make some challenging decisions on how to proceed. And really, it's a question of whether we're going to have any holiday celebrations in our downtown. It's either this or nothing. This is a family-friendly event, and so I support granting the amendment, the approval.
Any other discussion? Yeah, I'll just add, similar and echo these comments, both by Commissioner Lavasser and Commissioner Douglas. Certainly we didn't choose this path. The DDA is a separate body. Things happen, sometimes it's hard to pull off an event, and when things fall apart, they do. And I think as a former mayor once said, sometimes you're served an unsavory sandwich and you have to eat it. And I don't know if those were the exact words, but something very similar if I recall. you know, I think in this case, it comes down to, are we gonna have, you know, celebrate the holidays in our downtown or not? And I think that, you know, this will help us learn for next year what to do and make sure that Royal Oak is exceptionally engaging like it is with all of its events downtown. And, you know, we hope the best for this event. And, you know, we encourage everyone to come out and bring your families. We love family events in the downtown. Bias alert, my family loves them as well. So with that, if there's no other discussion, I'll call for the, oh, Commissioner Perush, I'm so sorry.
Just very quickly, don't confuse this with the city's celebration and tree lighting and vendors at the farmer's market, which is this coming Thursday. Thursday?
Thursday is happening on the 30th.
It is on, yes.
That is on, that is not being changed. Santa will arrive. And
Fire truck.
With a fire truck, yes. And don't confuse the two events. I know that there was some confusion out there. You mean they're not gonna do the tree lighting?
Yeah.
You know, the city event is still on this Thursday, and if you need an introduction to the holiday season, that's a great way to do it. So, hope to see everybody there.
With that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The motion passes. We will have an event, it looks like. All right. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Notwithstanding anything for the betterment of the people of Royal Oak, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Lavasser.
Considering that I'm in the seat previously occupied by
It's on you.
former Commissioner Marley, I do believe it appropriate for me to bring this motion. So I move that we adjourn this meeting.
We have a motion, I almost said Commissioner Marley, Commissioner Lavasser to adjourn the meeting. We have support by Commissioner Dubak.
Is it appropriate for that seat to have that simple of a motion?
You need some more pauses.
I'll try to do better next time.
All right, we have a motion on the table to adjourn. Is there any discussion? With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, the motion passes. We are adjourned.